Welcome to Tales in the Dark. I know many of you enjoy relaxing with these videos, so I recommend turning down the volume until my voice is barely audible. It'll make the experience even more soothing. Before you close your eyes, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you and enjoy listening. Story 1. The house lay hushed, cradled in the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the occasional sigh of the settling wood. I sprawled on the couch, teetering on the brink of slumber, when a soft glow flickered into view. The hallway light blinked on. A knot tightened in my stomach. I dwelled alone, unmoving. The familiar shapes of my abode took on an unfamiliar allure under that unexpected radiance. The vintage photographs adorning my walls seemed to drink in the light, their silver frames capturing delicate reflections. The antique grandfather clock gifted by my parents continued its steady, soothing cadence, ticking away time with a gentle assurance. I stayed motionless, attuned to the house's breath. The heating system murmured through the vents, carrying with it the unmistakable fragrance of warm dust that winter always carries. My cat, Mr. Whispers, lay nestled on the windowsill, his ebony fur outlined by the moon's glow. He lay still, an unusual stillness. Normally, any sudden movement would prompt at least a flicker of his ears. The glow in the hallway held a golden warmth, softer than I remembered. It evoked memories of summer evenings when the sun would drape everything in honeyed hues just before dusk. Yet this was different. The shadows it cast seemed to sway with a subtle fluidity, akin to underwater flora dancing in a gentle current. I found myself captivated by these shadows, noting how they deviated from the objects casting them. The bookshelf's corner should have cast a sharp angle, but instead its shadow traced a graceful curve along the wall. The small table where I kept my keys seemed to cast multiple overlapping shadows, each slightly askew from the others. The room's temperature began to shift, not in a sudden, alarming manner that signals dread and tales, but in a gradual, almost imperceptible way. It mirrored the sensation of stepping from shade into sunlight on a spring day. Warm patches caressed my skin like unseen clouds, followed by cooler currents carrying the scent of rain-kissed earth. My grandmother used to regale me with tales of light and shadow. She spoke of how homes developed their own consciousness over time, absorbing the emotions and memories of their inhabitants. Houses retain memories, she'd say, her voice tender and wise. They collect moments like we collect photographs. As I observed, the light's quality began to shift. It pulsed softly, akin to a heartbeat, but so languidly that I had to remain perfectly still to discern it. With each pulse, I glimpsed something in the hallway mirror, something familiar yet foreign. The reflection revealed my hallway, yet not quite as I knew it. The family photographs on the walls appeared to capture different moments, faces slightly averted or smiling when they shouldn't be. Finally, Mr. Whispers stirred, stretching leisurely on his windowsill perch. He turned his gaze down the hallway, his demeanor devoid of alarm. His tail curled contentedly as he watched something I couldn't quite see. His gentle purr mingled with the grandfather clock's steadfast beat. A subtle rhythm in the light's pulsing caught my attention. It synchronized with my breathing, or perhaps I had unconsciously matched it. The warm currents continued their tranquil waltz around me, now carrying the faintest hint of vanilla and old books, my grandmother's signature scent. The light began to wane, not abruptly, but akin to how afternoon sunlight fades through drawn curtains. As it receded, I noticed that the shadows it left behind retained their fluidity for a moment longer. They seemed to reach out towards me, not menacingly, but with a gentle inquisitiveness, reminiscent of cats extending their paws in contemplation. When darkness eventually blanketed the hallway, it felt different. The house enveloped me like a cozy quilt, and I realized I harbored no fear. The grandfather clock chimed softly, signaling the hour, and Mr. Whispers leaped down from his perch to nestle beside me. His purring persisted, a constant, reassuring presence. In the days that ensued, I often pondered that night. I kept the experience to myself, yet I began to pay closer attention to how light danced through my dwelling. Sometimes, in the quiet interludes between midnight and dawn, I glimpsed that same golden glow reflected in mirrors or gliding along walls. The house retains memories, just as my grandmother asserted. And occasionally, in its own gentle way, it imparts those memories to me. The hallway light has never flickered on of its own accord again, at least not in the same manner. But every so often, when I'm poised between sleep and wakefulness, I feel that familiar warmth envelop me, carrying with it the scent of vanilla and old books. In those instances, I grasp the essence of my grandmother's words about homes harboring memories. Some enigmas are meant to be experienced rather than unraveled, like the gentle pulse of light in darkness, or the subtle touch of a memory just beyond reach. Story 2. The soft whispers of crickets floated through my open window, blending harmoniously with the distant hum of passing cars. In the dimly lit bedroom, shadows danced on the walls cast by the gentle glow of the street lamp outside. Just as I was about to slip back into slumber, a chilling realization gripped me. My front door stood ajar, swaying gently in the night breeze. I lay there, transfixed, observing the door's delicate movements, its hinges emitting the faintest of whispers as it swayed. The cool night air carried the essence of rain-soaked earth and autumn leaves, wrapping around me like a cloak of mystery. My thoughts drifted to earlier that evening, when I had meticulously double-checked the lock, a nightly ritual ingrained from years of solitary living. The house creaked softly, its familiar sounds now tinged with an unfamiliar aura. Slowly, I rose from my bed, my bare feet meeting the solid, cool wooden floor, grounding me in the present moment as I made my way towards the hallway. Moonlight filtered through the windows, casting intricate silver patterns on the walls, guiding my path. As I neared the open door, the air grew crisper, causing me to instinctively wrap my arms around myself for warmth. Stepping closer, I was met with a sight of unexpected beauty. The night sky adorned with scattered stars, shimmering like diamonds on velvet, while the trees swayed gracefully in the nocturnal breeze. Reaching out to grasp the door handle, a glint on the welcome mat caught my eye. In the dim light, a single white feather lay, its pristine appearance almost ethereal under the moon's gentle glow. Intrigued, I picked it up, marveling at its softness, feeling as though it belonged to a creature beyond the ordinary realm. In the kitchen, I placed the feather on the counter and brewed a pot of chamomile tea, its soothing aroma mingling with the nighttime air that still lingered in my home. As the tea steeped, I noticed a peculiar quality about the feather. It emitted a subtle, almost imperceptible luminescence that captivated my senses. Recollections of my grandmother's tales flooded my mind. Stories of nocturnal visitors, benevolent spirits who watched over the slumbering. While once dismissed as mere bedtime tales, the glowing feather now made me question their validity. Glancing at the microwave clock displaying 3:33 a.m., I remembered another saying of hers, the gentle hour, a time when the veil between worlds grew thin, allowing peaceful beings to traverse between realms. Carrying my tea back to the bedroom, the feather cradled carefully in my hand, I found the door still ajar, the earlier breeze now stilled. A melodious tune, reminiscent of wind chimes but more enchanting, wafted in from outside, captivating my senses. I stood in silence, entranced by the mysterious melody, its origin eluding me yet filling me with a profound sense of tranquility. After closing the door and feeling a newfound sense of calm, I placed the feather on my nightstand, its intricate swirls catching the dim light in a mesmerizing display. Sipping my tea, seated cross-legged on the bed, I pondered my recent life choices, contemplating a career shift and a pending cross-country move kept secret from those around me. Could this be the crossroads my grandmother spoke of? The feather's gentle pulsating glow seemed to synchronize with my breath, a silent companion in the stillness of the night. Finishing my tea, I settled back under the covers, watching the feather's soft radiance as the cricket songs outside faded, giving way to the first whispers of dawn's chorus. The mystery of the open door remained unsolved. No signs of intrusion marred my home, leaving me with unanswered questions and a lingering sense of wonder. The feather retained its place on the nightstand, its glow diminishing with the morning light. In moments between wakefulness and sleep, echoes of the melodic chime returned, a reminder of unseen forces at play. In the ensuing months, I embraced change, pursued new horizons, and found myself on a path that resonated deeply within me. The feather journeyed with me, nestled in a velvet-lined box, a silent witness to my transformation. On quiet nights, I would retrieve it, marveling at the evolving patterns etched upon its surface, hinting at untold stories awaiting revelation. Now when I secure my door at night, the double lock a gesture of reverence rather than fear, I acknowledge the threshold between the known and the unknown. Sometimes I leave the window ajar, inviting in the nocturnal symphony of crickets and distant chimes, wondering if my ethereal visitor might return with further guidance on this enigmatic yet beautiful journey I find myself traversing. Story 3. The soft golden glow of my bedside lamp barely reached the hallway. Nestled in my bed, I watched as my eyes trailed the slender beam of light slipping beneath my bedroom door. A shadow glided past, deliberate and unhurried, my breath hitched in my throat. No sound, no echo of footsteps. Summoning my courage, I peeked into the hallway, only to find it deserted. That night was 3 weeks ago, and ever since the shadow has visited me, a silent companion in the darkness. Its presence has become familiar, comforting even, yet its origin remains a mystery to me. The time-worn wooden floors of my home compose a quiet symphony of murmurs and whispers during the night, but the shadow moves with absolute silence. Tonight, as raindrops tap gently against my window and the wind murmurs through the trees outside, I find myself anticipating its arrival once more. The warm glow of my bedside lamp envelops me in a familiar embrace, casting a cozy aura that accentuates the profound darkness outside, laden with enigma. The fragrance of lavender from my diffuser blends with the earthy scent of petrichor wafting in through the slightly ajar window. A routine has evolved around these nocturnal encounters. I brew chamomile tea, allowing its sweet, floral essence to fill the room as I nestle into bed with a book. The shadow unfailingly materializes amidst the turning of pages, catching my attention as it drifts past the gap beneath the door. Sometimes it pauses for several heartbeats, other times it glides by like a fleeting breeze. What captivates me most is how the shadow seems attuned to my emotional state. On anxious nights, it moves languidly, as if seeking to soothe me. When tranquility reigns, it merely passes by, akin to a leaf carried by the autumn wind. Its presence has never evoked fear within me, despite its inexplicable nature. My grandmother used to recount tales of houses developing their own sentience over time, absorbing the emotions and experiences of their inhabitants. Perhaps this shadow is simply my home's way of checking in on me, ensuring my safety as I straddle the realm between wakefulness and slumber. The house undergoes a transformation at night. The wooden banister on the stairs gleams softly under the moon's tender light filtering through the skylight. The antique grandfather clock in the hall below keeps time with a gentle, rhythmic ticking that reverberates through the tranquil chambers. Even the air feels distinct, pregnant with potential and laden with the weight of untold tales. Tonight, a shift occurs in our customary dance. Observing the gap beneath my door, the shadow emerges, yet instead of passing by as usual, it lingers. Minutes slip away, marked by the subdued ticking of my bedside clock. The shadow remains motionless, as if in anticipation. Without fully comprehending the impulse, I address it for the first time. "Hello," I murmur, my voice scarcely disturbing the nocturnal stillness. The shadow stirs slightly, and for a fleeting instant, I swear I sense a form of acknowledgement, akin to a gentle nod from an old acquaintance. The atmosphere in my room grows warmer, more embracing, akin to being enfolded in a velvety blanket. The flame of my scented candle flickers softly, though no breeze stirs the air. I have perused numerous books on the supernatural, on spirits and enigmatic occurrences, yet none quite capture this sensation. There are no chilling drafts, no foreboding scents, no cryptic inscriptions on walls or objects moving of their own volition. Merely this tranquil presence, this shadow that stands sentinel over my nights. At times I ponder if the shadow has always lingered here, and I am merely the first to perceive it. Perhaps it watched over the previous denizens of this house, maintaining a silent vigil as generations traverse these chambers. Maybe it has awaited this moment, for someone to acknowledge its existence, to embrace it as an integral facet of the house's natural cadence. Lying here now, observing the shadow gradually dissipate like morning mist, a profound serenity envelops me. The rain continues its gentle lullaby on my window, and the house settles around me with familiar creaks and sighs. I am aware that come tomorrow night, and every night thereafter, my enigmatic companion will return. In the morning, I shall proceed with my daily routines, yet a part of me will anticipate the twilight, that juncture when I can resume this silent communion with whatever traverses my hallway in the darkest hours. I have ceased attempting to elucidate it to others. How does one articulate a presence that bestows solace rather than dread, enigma rather than terror? The shadow has melded seamlessly into my nightly rituals, akin to my chamomile tea and bedtime perusals. As weariness descends upon me and slumber beckons from the fringes of my consciousness, I track the slender streak of light beneath my door. The shadow drifts by one final time, its passage so gentle it could have been a figment of my imagination. Yet I now understand better. In this abode, during these hushed hours betwixt midnight and dawn, not everything necessitates an explanation. And so I surrender to sleep, enveloped by the dulcet sounds of my nocturnal abode, cognizant that my enigmatic guardian will return the following night, gliding silently beneath my door, a reassuring presence in the profound depths of the night. Story 4. The gentle rain outside whispered against the windows, creating a soothing lullaby in the living room. My loyal dog nestled at my feet, suddenly tensed. His ears perked up, his gaze fixed on the far corner of the room. A soft growl rumbled from his chest. I followed his gaze, but found nothing amiss. Initially, I brushed it off as one of his peculiarities. Max had always been attuned to sounds beyond my perception, the faint meows of the neighbor's cat, distant footfalls, or the rustle of leaves in the breeze. Yet this felt different. Every evening, like clockwork, he would direct his attention to that corner, where the aged wooden bookshelf met the wall beneath the vintage reading lamp. The corner itself appeared ordinary, bathed in soft shadows from the lamp's gentle glow. The mahogany bookshelf cradled my collection of well-loved novels, their spines weaving a comforting tapestry of colors and textures. A dainty pottery vase on the lowest shelf held dried lavender, infusing the air with its delicate, calming scent. In the passing weeks, subtle changes began to unfold in that space. The temperature would subtly dip, though no draft stirred from the nearby window. The lavender's fragrance would briefly intensify, then wane once more. The lamplight would flicker so faintly that I questioned if my eyes deceived me. Max's behavior took on a new strangeness. He would amble over to the corner during daylight hours, nose a-quiver, tail wagging in hesitant, slow arcs. Occasionally, he would carry his beloved toy, a weathered tennis ball, and place it gently at the edge of the bookshelf. Come morning, the ball would have shifted ever so slightly, as if nudged by unseen hands. I found myself drawn to my reading chair near that corner, enveloped in a plush blanket, listening to the grandfather clock's gentle tick-tock and the steady patter of rain on the windows. The atmosphere there felt altered, not menacing, but imbued with an enigmatic presence. It was akin to the sensation of being quietly watched, yet warmer, more intimate. On a particularly tranquil evening, as I sat engrossed in a book with Max at my side, I observed the pages turning of their own accord. Not in abrupt, startling motions, but with the delicate precision of someone engrossed in the tale. The lamplight ebbed and flowed in a rhythm reminiscent of serene breathing. Max raised his head, but instead of growling, he wagged his tail leisurely, steady, his eyes tranquil and content. It was then that a memory stirred within me. This had been my grandmother's cherished reading nook. She would sit here for hours, sharing stories with me, the lamp casting its warm glow on her silver locks. Though she had departed this house a decade prior, her essence lingered in the minutiae. The lavender she adored, the books amassed over years, the lamp from her childhood abode. Now, each evening, Max and I find ourselves near that corner. At times, I read aloud, my voice melding with the rain's melody and the faint creaking of the aged dwelling. The temperature still dips, the lavender still imparts its gentle perfume, and the lamp continues its graceful play of light and shadow. Max no longer growls, he simply wags his tail in greeting, as though welcoming an old acquaintance. I've grown accustomed to our peculiar corner, with its elusive movements and unexplained warmth. While some may perceive it as disconcerting, a place where the boundary between now and then seems to blur, I now comprehend. Not all mysteries are to be feared. Some are merely memories finding their way back, opting to linger where love once resided, and perhaps, in a tender manner, still does. Story 5. The ancient house still stood at the edge of the street, its weathered wooden panels telling tales of bygone days, its windows veiled with a cloak of dust. It had been years since I last set foot in this neighborhood, memories buried beneath layers of time. Yet, as I passed by, an invisible force halted my steps. A silhouette lingered in the upstairs window, a silent sentinel in a home long deserted. The autumn breeze carried whispers of damp leaves and distant fires, enveloping me in a comforting embrace reminiscent of childhood nights. The wind caressed the overgrown grass, creating ripples that mirrored the rhythm of my past, a past spent gazing out of my bedroom window into the night. And now that same window beckoned me with a cryptic dance of shadows. Compelled by a blend of nostalgia and intrigue, I found myself drawn closer, my movements guided by a symphony of memories and the unknown. Each footfall on the gravel path released the earthy scent of rain-soaked soil, a fragrance that mingled with the chorus of the creaking porch boards. The melody they sang was etched in my soul, a melody of summer evenings spent lost in books and dreams. The sound carried me back to a time when this house pulsed with vitality and love. A flicker of movement caught my eye, a lace curtain swaying in the window, untouched by any breeze. Its pristine white fabric stood in stark contrast to the aged, dusty drapes of yesteryears. Tracing the familiar banister with my hand, I ascended the porch steps, feeling the smooth indentations worn by generations of caressing fingertips, mine, my mother's, my grandmother's. The key, hidden behind a loose brick as it had been for decades, fit snugly into the lock, yielding to my touch with a subtle resistance. The door swung open with a melodic groan, its echoes reverberating through the hollow chambers within. The air inside was not stale as anticipated, but cool and crisp, carrying a whisper of lavender, dried bouquets my mother stored in the linen closet. Crossing the threshold into the front room, my footsteps muffled by a blanket of dust on the hardwood floor, I noticed faint imprints, smaller than my own, leading towards the staircase. Sunlight filtered through the windows, casting elongated shadows that danced in a silent waltz. Dust particles floated lazily in the amber beams, resembling celestial bodies in their own enchanting universe. Each step I took up the stairs unraveled another memory, The chip on the third step from my father's toolbox incident, the squeaky board I used to sneak out in my rebellious years. On the second floor, a soft hum drifted down the hallway, a melody that tugged at the strings of my heart. A lullaby my grandmother sang to me. Its ethereal notes seemed to emanate from the very walls, a ghostly serenade from a forgotten past. The floor beneath the threadbare runner exuded warmth, despite the defunct heating system. My childhood bedroom door stood slightly ajar, a deviation from my recollection of closing it on my last visit. The humming intensified beyond the door, accompanied by a gentle breeze carrying scents of fresh linens and petrichor. Pushing the door open with a deliberate slowness, I beheld a scene frozen in time, yet alive with subtle changes. The afternoon sun painted the room in hues of honey, illuminating the intricate patterns of the wallpaper that should have long faded. My old rocking chair swayed gracefully by the window, a silent dancer in a forgotten ballet. The lace curtains fluttered inward, a choreography orchestrated by invisible hands. A vase of wildflowers perched on the dresser, their vibrant hues a tribute to the garden blooms my grandmother cherished. Approaching the window with a sense of impending recognition, I gazed out upon the rejuvenated garden, vibrant with life and color, defying the neglected reality outside. A reflection in the glass caught my attention, a figure in a flowing dress, hair styled in a familiar bun, reminiscent of my grandmother. Yet, when I turned, the room remained empty, save for the rocking chair's gentle sway and the fading hum. Resting on the cushion was a solitary wildflower, pristine and dew-kissed, a tangible link to a distant memory. Grasping the flower delicately, its petals soft against my skin, the scent of lavender enveloped me, and for a fleeting moment, a phantom touch brushed my shoulder, tender as a whisper. I visit the house now and then, though I no longer venture inside its walls. On serene evenings, when the sunlight caresses the windows just so, I observe the curtains stir. Sometimes a figure lingers, a spectral grandmother, a youthful version of my mother, a child resembling me in bygone days, playing with toys lost to time. The house remains a conduit between past and present, a sanctuary for memories thought to have slipped away. In the end, I understood that the figure in the window wasn't an observer, but a guardian, preserving the essence of cherished moments long forgotten. Though the house may stand empty, its rooms echo with the whispers of the past, a reminder that some places transcend the boundaries of time and space. And in those rare instances, if we are fortunate, they grant us passage, if only for a fleeting instant. I find solace in the fresh flowers adorning the porch each Sunday morning and the echoes of laughter carried on the wind. Some places exist in the liminal realm between memory and reality, past and present, and in those places we are granted a glimpse of the eternal dance of time. Story 6. The night lay tranquil, my room enveloped in the gentle radiance of my laptop screen. Soft music hummed in the background, a melodic journey through a playlist crafted long ago. Suddenly a new tune emerged, a melody unremembered. My heart constricted. It was his cherished song, the one that resonated at his farewell. Motionless, I absorbed the soothing notes as they meandered through my softly illuminated sanctuary. The delicate piano keys floated like echoes from yesteryears, casting a nostalgic aura. Shadows danced across my walls, painted by the warm glow of my trusty desk lamp. Beyond the window, an autumn breeze whispered through the trees. The familiar fragrance of chamomile tea mingled with the woody essence of sandalwood incense, a comforting blend accompanying my late-night musings. Initially, I tried to reason with the occurrence, perhaps a slip of memory or a random algorithmic suggestion infiltrating my playlist. Yet, as I delved deeper, more of his favorites materialized. Songs that once filled our shared night drives, moments when time felt infinite and the world stood still. The music continued its gentle serenade, each note a poignant reminder of him. The soft light from my screen illuminated a cluster of Polaroid snapshots on my desk, frozen memories capturing us at various concerts, forever smiling, forever united. My fingertip traced the edge of a particular photo, depicting him with his treasured vintage headphones, claiming they emitted the purest sound. Transitioning from one song to the next, I discerned a peculiar pattern. The sequence mirrored our method of crafting mixtapes, commencing with upbeat melodies, transitioning to mellower tunes, then crescendoing once more. It was our unique musical signature, a fingerprint of friendship refined over the years. The soft blue glow of my audio visualizer pulsed in sync with each beat, conjuring patterns reminiscent of the northern lights we dreamt of witnessing together. A dream left unfulfilled. Tonight, the rhythmic display seemed purposeful, almost hinting at hidden messages. I sank deeper into my chair, clad in my worn wool sweater he often teased me about. The gentle hum of the heating system blended with the music like a subtle bass line. Despite the now cold tea beside me, I remained still, captivated by the evolving playlist. Each song carried a whisper, a message just beyond reach. The volume subtly adjusted itself, creating space for unspoken words during verses and building momentum during instrumental breaks we once rocked out to. Rain tapped against my window, adding a natural percussion to the symphony. Streetlight rays filtered through the raindrops, casting intricate shadows that danced around my room. The line between past and present blurred, encapsulating me in a cocoon of memories and melodies. The world outside faded, leaving only this intimate space of remembrance and music. Nostalgia thickened the air, almost tangible. As midnight neared, the playlist tapered off, mimicking our late-night listening rituals. The songs grew softer, contemplative. My room transformed into a timeless sanctuary, suspended between what was and what might have been. The final song commenced, an unfamiliar track resonating with echoes of our cherished pieces. I closed my eyes, allowing the closing notes to wash over me. Upon reopening them, the playlist had ceased. My screen displayed no trace of the mysterious additions, returning to its original state. The sole remnant of that enigmatic evening was a new empty folder in my downloads, bearing a single file matching the date of his passing. To this day, I've left that file unopened. Some mysteries are best shrouded in the embrace of uncertainty. Sometimes, amidst late-night work, I catch myself anticipating the return of those familiar tunes. They never do, yet the memory of that night lingers like the fading echo of a beloved melody, never quite vanishing into silence. The playlist remains unaltered on my laptop, a silent witness to that extraordinary night. Whether a glitch, a manifestation of grief, or something more mystifying, I've come to embrace that certain questions require no answers. Perhaps it was his way of sharing a final listening session, a reminder that music, like memory, traverses the spaces between here and there, now and then, present and past. Story 7. The coffee shop hummed with whispered conversations and the comforting whir of the espresso machine. I reached for my phone, mindlessly swiping through my photos until I paused. There, a picture I had no recollection of taking graced my gallery. It was a close-up shot of my bedroom, snapped from the foot of my bed, from last night. The gentle scent of freshly ground coffee beans wafted around me as I scrutinized the image. The photo revealed my room bathed in the soft glow of my bedside lamp, casting warm shadows on my pale blue walls. My pristine white sheets lay impeccably arranged, just as I always left them, with the corners neatly tucked in. The wooden floor gleamed with a subtle sheen, remnants of the recent rain that had trickled in through my slightly ajar window, leaving delicate droplets on the sill. Sipping on my lavender tea, I let its soothing warmth envelop me as I pondered the enigmatic photograph. The metadata indicated it was taken at 3:17 a.m., a time when I was deep in slumber. The angle of the shot was peculiar, as though someone had held the phone at chest height, capturing the entire room in perfect clarity. My collection of vintage books adorned the shelf above my bed, their spines forming a muted rainbow of colors in the dim light. That night, a sense of unease settled in my stomach as I returned home. The autumn breeze whispered through the trees outside my window, casting dancing shadows on my walls. Placing my phone on the dresser, I made sure the camera was facing downward. The aged wooden floors murmured softly beneath my steps as I readied myself for bed, their familiar creaks somehow more pronounced that evening. Lying in bed, observing the gentle sway of my curtains in the breeze, I noticed a subtle change in my bookshelf. One book jutted out slightly, just a hair more than the others. It was my cherished copy of The Secret Garden, a childhood favorite that had remained untouched for years. The antique clock's gentle ticking marked the passing minutes as I stared at it, trying to recall if I had moved it recently. Drifting into a light slumber, I was roused by the faint sound of raindrops against my window. The digital display on my clock read 3:15 a.m. The room was bathed in a serene blue hue from the moon peeking through the thin clouds outside. As I lay there, listening to the rhythmic patter of rain, I noticed a brief illumination from my phone screen, casting a soft glow across the ceiling. The following morning, with sunlight streaming in and birds singing their melodies, I checked my phone. Another photo, taken at 3:17 a.m., displayed my sleeping form from the same angle as before, peaceful and unaware. What captured my attention was The Secret Garden, now lying open on my bedside table, its pages gently rustled as if recently perused. Days passed, each night unveiling a new photo precisely at 3:17 a.m. Some captured the empty room, others my slumbering figure, all from that same peculiar angle. The photos were artful in their composition, capturing the interplay of light and shadow with precision. They evoked memories of how my mother used to photograph our home, seizing the quiet moments that often went unnoticed. Gradually, I began to notice subtle alterations in my room. Books would shift ever so slightly, always classics beloved by my mother. The window would be opened wider than I had left it, inviting the cool night air inside. My bedside lamp would be adjusted to cast the perfect soft glow, mirroring how she used to set it when reading me bedtime stories. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, elongating shadows across my floor, I found myself reaching for The Secret Garden. A dried lavender sprig, my mother's favorite, fell from its pages, a delicate reminder of her presence. The faint scent lingered, mingling with the sweet mustiness of the aged paper. That night, I positioned my phone face up on the dresser, its lens capturing the gentle lamplight. Each morning, I awoke to find a new photo in my gallery, snapped at 3:17 a.m. I ceased questioning their origin, instead anticipating the way light danced through my room while I dreamt, how shadows swayed on my walls, which book might have shifted imperceptibly on my shelf. Sometimes, in the hushed stillness of the night, with a radiant moon above, I caught a whisper of lavender in the air, and I smiled, understanding that love transcends the boundaries we perceive. The photos persisted, each one a gentle reminder that perhaps the divide between the known and the unknown is softer than we believe. Like the threshold between sleep and wakefulness, between memory and reality, between now and then. In that tranquil, tender space, during the quiet hours of the night, the most exquisite mysteries unfold in the simplest of ways, through a lens we had not thought to peer through, capturing moments we never knew we craved to witness. Story 8. The tempest outside shook the windows, thunder rumbling in the distance. Nestled under a cozy blanket, I endeavored to immerse myself in a book, but a sudden burst of static pierced the room. My vintage radio had sprung to life of its own accord. The dial turned leisurely, halting between frequencies. A soft voice murmured through the crackling, barely perceptible. Initially, I paid it no mind. During storms, antique electronics often behave peculiarly. The gentle white noise intertwined with the soothing patter of rain on the window panes. My grandmother's radio had always been capricious, its weathered wooden casing holding a trove of memories within its grain. I reminisced about how she used to tune in to evening broadcasts in her cherished armchair, the very one I now occupied. The static rose and fell like waves on a shore, forming patterns that verged on musical. Amidst the interference, a peculiar revelation emerged. The whispers grew more distinct, not quite forming words, yet carrying a cadence reminiscent of my grandmother's beloved melodies. The wooden enclosure of the radio exuded warmth, despite lying dormant for years. The rain maintained its steady beat as I inched closer, lured by the familiar rhythm. The fragrance of my grandmother's lavender perfume wafted through the air, a scent I hadn't encountered since her passing 5 years prior. The static shifted once more, and I could almost swear I heard her humming, the same lullaby she would sing to me during stormy nights when sleep eluded me. The atmosphere in the room transformed, becoming cozier somehow, even amidst the autumnal chill outside. The lamplight cast gentle shadows that waltzed across the walls, while the radio's dial continued its unhurried traversal across frequencies that defied logic. Each number it grazed momentarily sparkled, creating a soft light display that shimmered off the gleaming surface of the side table. I found myself swaying slightly to the hidden rhythm within the static, memories rising like autumn leaves caught in a breeze. The voice within the radio grew more defined, though never quite decipherable in words. It conveyed emotions rather than language, solace, yearning, affection, all interwoven in the realm between stations. Time seemed to stretch and contract as I sat there, ensconced in my blanket, ensnared by the enigmatic transmission. The storm outside receded to a faint murmur, as if nature itself strained to catch the mysterious broadcast. The radio's radiance pulsed softly, synchronizing with the cadence of my breath, and a profound sense of tranquility enveloped me. Hours may have slipped by, or perhaps mere minutes. The static began to wane, like a tide retreating gradually. The whispers grew fainter, yet the warmth lingered. As the radio's glow dimmed, I espied something atop it, a lone dried lavender sprig that hadn't been there before, its delicate aroma mingling with the residual scent of ozone from the storm. The radio fell silent, but the dial remained stuck between frequencies, indicating a station that eluded reality. I refrained from attempting to switch it on again, cognizant that certain broadcasts are not meant to be replayed. Sometimes, on stormy nights, I settle into my grandmother's chair and listen to the rain, recalling the evening when the radio awakened on its own accord and tuned into an invisible station. The lavender sprig still adorns the radio, unfading, unwilting. And occasionally, when the house is shrouded in utter stillness, I catch a faint whisper of static, akin to a whispered greeting from the realm betwixt frequencies, reminding me that not all stations are intended for universal reception. Story 9. The estate agent had described the house as small yet cozy, ideal for a tranquil retreat. I strolled through each room, exploring the layout meticulously. But at the far end of the hallway, a door caught my eye, a door that had eluded my memory from the initial tour. I hesitated for a moment before reaching for the knob. Upon entering, the air felt stagnant, and a layer of dust blanketed the floor, as if untouched for an eternity. The soft hues of autumn sun seeped through a lone window, casting delicate shadows over what seemed to be an ancient study. A weathered wooden desk stood against one wall, its surface adorned with the marks of time. The wood's grain danced in mesmerizing patterns as I adjusted to the dim light, almost hypnotizing in its allure. A peculiar aroma lingered in the air, not unpleasant, but redolent of aged books and wilted flowers. Intrigued, I found myself drawn to the desk, my footsteps muffled by the plush carpet underfoot. The distant tinkling of wind chimes wafted through the walls, weaving a serene melody that felt as though it belonged to another era. Tracing my fingers along the desk's edge, I discovered faint indentations, intricate symbols etched into the wood in a continuous design. Smooth to the touch, worn down by the passage of countless hands tracing the same path. Night after night, the room beckoned me back. I brought in a cozy armchair, an antique leather piece salvaged from the basement, and settled in as daylight melted into dusk. Time behaved differently within those four walls, languid, contemplative. Sometimes I'd bring a book, but more often I'd sit in silence, attuned to the gentle whispers of the house settling around me. On a particularly tranquil evening, raindrops pattered softly against the window, and my gaze fell upon an anomaly. The desk drawer, once securely locked, now slightly ajar, as if inviting exploration. Within, a leather-bound journal awaited, its pages filled with elegant script. The entries bore dates that seemed to leap across years, even decades, yet the handwriting remained unchanged, untouched by the passage of time. The author spoke of the room itself, describing it as a space between moments, where time flowed like honey, unhurried and sweet. They chronicled the shifting seasons outside the window, recounted dialogues with visitors who seemed to exist only within that room. The entries exuded peace, contemplation, brimming with reflections on light and shadow, on the palpable presence of silence. As weeks drifted by, subtle transformations unfolded within the room. The dust never settled, though I never lifted a finger to clean it. The quality of light filtering through the window occasionally defied the time of day outside. During a fierce storm, while the rest of the house groaned and creaked, this room remained an oasis of stillness, cocooned in tranquility. The journal entries began to make sense, prompting me to record my own observations, intertwining them with the enigmatic author's musings. Sometimes, upon revisiting my previous entries, I'd notice slight alterations. Words rearranged, dates blurred and reshaped. Yet this metamorphosis didn't unsettle me. It felt harmonious, as if the room itself gently molded our shared narrative. What captivated me most was the window. From outside the house, the wall appeared solid, devoid of any aperture. Yet within the room, the window persisted, offering views that subtly shifted when I averted my gaze. The garden it overlooked mirrored the one behind the house, yet with subtle discrepancies. Blooms that defied their seasons, trees casting shadows in improbable angles. I kept the room a secret, withholding it from the real estate agent and my guests. It felt intimate, personal, a sanctuary reserved for those in need. The original blueprints, unearthed from the local archives, made no mention of it, as though it had been appended by someone cognizant of the necessity for a space where time meandered differently, where thoughts unfolded at their own pace. As I now sit transcribing this tale, I ponder the predecessors who stumbled upon this room, who contributed to its enigmatic ambiance of tranquil mystery. The journal alludes to many who came before me, hinting at a lineage of silent seekers. The sun begins its descent, or so the light through the window intimates. I've observed that the time displayed on my watch loses significance within these walls. Perhaps that's the room's intention, to offer a haven where the relentless march of minutes and hours dissolves into a more forgiving cadence. There's still much I don't comprehend about this room, this enclave that exists within, yet apart from the rest of the house. But I've grown to cherish the notion that some mysteries need not be unraveled. Sometimes they merely beckon to be experienced, to be embraced. And in a world that often hurtles forward at breakneck speed, perhaps we all yearn for a space not outlined on the floor plan, a realm where time bends and stretches, where dust never settles, and where the light through an impossible window invites us to simply exist. Story 10. The night held a unique essence, that of autumn seeping into your very being, whispering promises of never-ending nights. Nestled in the cozy armchair of my study, I savored the gentle breeze outside, a soft caress on the leaves that played a natural lullaby. Amid that tranquil moment, a faint noise emerged from the depths of the basement, a delicate rustling akin to the soft turning of ancient pages. Initially, I dismissed it as the usual settling of the house, the hushed murmurs every structure utters as day transitions to night. Intrigued rather than alarmed, I rose from my seat. The comforting glow of the desk lamp enveloped me in a golden embrace as I approached the basement door. The wooden steps whispered under my tentative steps, as if sharing age-old secrets. With each descent, the air grew cooler, carrying the scent of damp earth and forgotten tomes. In the basement, shadows waltzed along the walls to the flickering rhythm of the light bulb, casting an enchanting spell. The space, familiar with neatly arranged boxes and shrouded furniture resembling slumbering spirits, held an unfamiliar aura that night. My gaze fixated on a detail previously unnoticed, a door nestled in the darkest corner where light struggled to reach. Simple in design, crafted from dark wood without embellishments, it seemed to have materialized out of thin air. The brass handle gleamed unusually bright, as though polished moments ago. Approaching cautiously, I sensed the floor pulsating beneath my feet, as if alive. The air around the door carried a chill, sending shivers down my spine. Tentatively, my fingertips brushed the weathered surface of the door, feeling its ancient, irregular texture. To my surprise, the door seemed to quiver at my touch, as if acknowledging my presence. The silence in the basement thickened, interrupted only by the echo of my own heartbeat. With a steady hand, I grasped the handle. Unusually warm against the cold surroundings, it turned effortlessly, revealing a mesmerizing sight. Instead of a wall, a room, or any earthly realm, a delicate silver mist swayed beyond the threshold, dancing with an ethereal grace. Emitting a gentle hypnotic light, the mist beckoned softly, like a fading dream upon waking. Within its embrace, a distant melody, as if played on an unseen piano, caressed my ears. The air carried a sweet, familiar fragrance reminiscent of spring blooms or freshly brewed tea. Caught between curiosity and caution, I lingered at the doorway, mesmerized by the shifting shapes within the mist, fleeting images of known faces and unseen landscapes. As the mist teased with its elusive forms, I took a step back, closing the door gently. The click of the lock broke the enchantment, bringing back the familiar sounds of the house. The clocks ticking above, the rustle of wind through the trees, a dog's distant bark in the tranquil neighborhood. Ascending the stairs at a leisurely pace, I carried with me the sense of having stumbled upon something extraordinary. In the days that ensued, I revisited the basement time and again, yet the door had vanished, replaced by an unyielding brick wall. On quiet nights, when the world lingers on the edge between slumber and wakefulness, I still catch echoes of that distant melody. I ponder if the door persists concealed somewhere, awaiting discovery by another soul. Some doors, I've come to realize, open only at specific junctures when time and space meld in incomprehensible ways. Perhaps it's for the best, for the enigma of that basement door taught me that not every question begs an answer, and certain mysteries are more enchanting when left untouched, like dreams that briefly mingle with reality before dissolving into the silvery mist of memory. Story 11. A familiar heaviness envelops me as I awaken, like a leaden shroud draped over my being. The room is bathed in a gentle, pearlescent light, its source a mystery. The walls shift in hue, elusive and ever-changing. The lofty ceiling reaches far beyond the norm, disappearing into a velvety darkness reminiscent of a starless night sky. The bed beneath me is luxuriously soft, the silk sheets whispering against my skin with a mesmerizing caress. A sweet, elusive fragrance lingers in the air, evoking memories I cannot quite grasp. Perhaps it is lavender or vanilla, yet it eludes my attempts to define it. Time in this room meanders, shadows swaying and stretching as if dancing to an unseen melody, casting a hypnotic spell on the walls. The silence is never absolute, a subtle background hum like a deep slumbering breath, or perhaps the echo of my own heartbeat reverberating through the emptiness. Rising from the bed, My bare feet sink into a plush carpet, each step feeling like walking on clouds. The room is sparsely adorned, a vintage darkwood desk, a rich burgundy velvet armchair, and an oval mirror with a gilded frame. The mirror remains misted, as though someone had just taken a steamy shower, yet no bathroom is in sight. Approaching the desk, my gaze falls upon an array of objects. A weathered leather-bound diary, a fountain pen with midnight blue ink, and a cup of tea steaming gently. The tea's warmth surprises me, for I have no recollection of brewing it. Though the diary's pages are blank, when I run my fingers over them, phantom words seem to linger, as if etched in invisible ink. The inviting armchair beckons, and I yield. The velvet yields beneath my touch, still warm as if recently vacated. From this vantage point, a peculiar sight catches my eye. The wall opposite appears to pulse, akin to a slumbering chest rising and falling. Intrigued, I rise to inspect this anomaly, yet upon closer proximity, the wall stands resolute and motionless. Questing for an exit, my hands trace the walls, seeking any sign of a door. Faint indentations tease my fingertips, elusive as morning mist when grasped. The misted mirror captivates me. Through its haze, my reflection wavers, movements lagging as if in hesitation. Occasionally, a fleeting clarity reveals a figure beside me in the reflection, gazing back with enigmatic eyes. Time undulates erratically, light ebbing and flowing in a rhythm divorced from day or night. Seated in the armchair, I peruse the diary for fleeting moments, only to find shadows have shifted as if hours slip by unnoticed. Returning to the bed, I gaze up at the infinite expanse of the ceiling. The sheets envelop me tenderly, as if with a life force of their own, cradling me in a soothing embrace. The fragrance intensifies, now evoking memories of my grandmother's perfume, fresh-baked cookies, or the scent of rain on a summer lawn. Surrendering to the weight of slumber, I wonder if escape exists, or if indeed I desire it at all. The room has melded with my essence, blurring the lines between dream and reality, where time loops upon itself like a Mobius strip. Am I dreaming the room, or is it dreaming me? Drifting back into the realm of sleep, a fragment of my consciousness questions the existence of an exit, pondering if perhaps I am content within this enigmatic cycle. Boundaries blur, reality melds with imagination, and I fade into the tapestry of the room's eternal embrace, where waking and dreaming intertwine seamlessly in a timeless dance. Story 12. The cold touch of the cement floor greeted my bare feet as I descended the basement stairs, each step echoing in the stillness of the air. A faint scent of damp wood and dust lingered around me, wrapping the space in a shroud of forgotten whispers. My search for a photo album led me to sift through old boxes, their contents a mosaic of memories long abandoned. Then, a sudden halt. In the corner where I had left a mannequin standing sentinel, a subtle shift had occurred. The once wall-facing figure now turned to meet my gaze, its featureless visage bathed in the subtle dance of the flickering basement light. Recollections flooded my mind as I recalled the day I had brought this enigmatic mannequin home, a relic of past displays and untold narratives acquired at an estate sale. Its form, weathered by time and imbued with an aura of mystery, bore witness to a history veiled in shadows. Initially dismissing the notion, I rationalized the unsettling sight as a trick of the dimly lit basement, where shadows played tricks on the periphery of perception. Yet, an inexplicable stillness enveloped the mannequin, its posture hinting at a purposeful intent. The porcelain-like sheen of its surface captured the light in an uncanny manner, as though a faint breath stirred within its hollow frame. Amid the rhythmic crackle of aging wood settling around me, a symphony of whispers intertwined with the beating of my own heart. The memory of the elderly shopkeeper's cryptic warning resurfaced, her tremulous voice echoing in the recesses of my consciousness. "Some objects carry memories," she had uttered, a foreboding undertone underscoring her enigmatic words. The rain outside painted a serene backdrop, its delicate cadence seeping through the small basement window. Droplets traced ephemeral patterns on the glass, casting ethereal shadows that mirrored the enigmatic presence of the mannequin. As I approached, the floorboards groaned beneath my weight, their protests subdued by layers of neglect. The mannequin held its vigil, its inscrutable gaze reflecting depths unseen in mere inanimate forms. My grandmother's tales of memories woven into objects resonated within me, her wisdom transcending the boundaries of time and understanding. Each imperfection on the mannequin's surface whispered of a narrative untold, of experiences etched into the very fabric of its being. The flickering light orchestrated a ballet of shadows, teasing the boundaries of reality with each elusive movement. Was it a play of light and shadow, or a manifestation of something beyond comprehension? My breath materialized in wisps amidst the cool basement air, a tangible reminder of the timeless moment unfolding. The chill that embraced me was not of discomfort, but of a gentle reminder, akin to the caress of autumn's first breeze, urging introspection and contemplation. Minutes melded into hours within the timeless confines of the basement, where the mannequin stood as a silent sentinel to bygone tales. Questions swirled in my mind, weaving a tapestry of conjectures around its enigmatic presence. Whose hands had shaped its form? What silent reveries had it borne witness to? What enigmas lay veiled beneath its stoic facade? The rain outside persisted in its melodic lullaby, each droplet a whispered fragment of a narrative too profound to decipher. Not fear, but curiosity, tinged with intrigue, enveloped me in a cocoon of contemplation. There was a peculiar solace in the mannequin's unwavering vigil, a sense of guardianship over untold memories and veiled truths. The flickering light continued its mesmerizing dance, casting a veil of uncertainty over the basement's confines. In that moment of profound stillness, I embraced the realization that some mysteries transcend comprehension, that some truths are felt rather than understood. The mannequin, a silent custodian of forgotten whispers, bore witness to the enigma of time and memory. Its presence, a silent ode to the mysteries that dwell within the shadows of remembrance, stood as a testament to the enduring power of the unseen and the unsaid. And as the flickering light painted ephemeral patterns on the basement walls, I beheld the enigmatic figure with newfound reverence, acknowledging the profound depths of its silent reverie. Story 13. The old shop exuded a scent of ancient paper and weathered wood, drawing me in with its mysterious allure. Tracing my fingers along the dusty spines of forgotten books, I felt a pull towards one in particular. Its leather cover cracked with age, beckoning me to uncover its secrets. Opening it, a jolt of recognition coursed through me, my name inscribed on the first page in a script unfamiliar yet strangely familiar. Outside, the soft patter of rain against the windows provided a soothing backdrop, syncing with the rhythm of my quickening heartbeat. Each step I took on the creaking wooden floor brought me closer to a worn leather armchair bathed in the warm glow of a small reading lamp, casting a comforting amber light in the dim space. Nestling into the chair, I felt its embrace like an old friend, welcoming me into its worn leather folds. The diary I held felt alive in my hands, radiating a warmth that seemed to resonate with my own. Tracing the faded words with my fingertips, I marveled at how some letters appeared to dissolve into the yellowed pages like whispered secrets struggling to be heard. The first entry, dated ages past, bore a handwriting uncannily similar to my own, the curves, the slant, an echo of my own penmanship. The writer's musings began with a simple observation on the elusive nature of memories, how they slip through time like shadows slipping through forgotten doorways. As I delved deeper, the rain outside shifted from a gentle tap to a continuous murmur, blending seamlessly with the echoes of the past woven into the diary's pages. Each word I read seemed to conjure a new layer of enchantment, recounting inexplicable occurrences where reality bent and swirled in unfathomable ways. Footsteps in empty rooms, reflections that defied logic, and unseen presences that left no trace. The writer's world was a tapestry of wonder and intrigue. One passage lingered in my mind, hinting at the non-linear nature of time, how memories could exist in multiple moments simultaneously. It was a narrative not of fear, but of profound curiosity, inviting the reader to embrace the mysteries that lay beyond the veil of certainty. The rain outside continued its gentle serenade, harmonizing with the rustle of turning pages as I journeyed deeper into the diary's enigmatic realm. Each revelation felt like a whisper from a forgotten past, merging seamlessly with the ambient symphony of raindrops against glass. Family ties intertwined with cosmic threads, weaving a narrative of shared experiences across generations. Faces glimpsed in crowds, inexplicably familiar yet unplaceable, hinted at connections beyond the boundaries of time and space. "We are more connected than we know," the writer's words echoed, resonating with a truth that transcended the mundane. As twilight descended, shadows danced between the shelves, infusing the shop with an air of mystery and allure. The rain persisted, a steadfast companion in the unfolding tale of interconnected lives and overlapping realities. Dreams melded with waking moments, blurring the lines between perception and truth. Hours slipped by unnoticed as I delved deeper into the diary's pages, feeling a sense of peace wash over me like a gentle tide. In the embrace of darkness, I closed the diary, its warmth seeping into my palms like a comforting memory. The rain's lullaby continued, a soothing reminder of the beauty found in uncertainty. In that moment, I found solace in the unknown, in the mysteries that whispered of deeper truths waiting to be discovered. The diary remained a bridge between worlds, a guide into the tranquil depths of contemplation and wonder. And as I drifted into the realm of dreams, the rain outside murmured its timeless song, cradling me in a cocoon of peaceful ambiguity. Story 14. The night had enveloped the house in a cocoon of profound quietude, broken solely by the gentle tap-tap of raindrops on the window panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I observed the shadows pirouette on the walls, moving in sync with the flickering firelight. The cozy warmth enveloped me like a soft embrace, while the scent of burning wood intertwined with the fragrance of vanilla tea cradled in my hands. It was in that moment of utter tranquility that my gaze fell upon something peculiar in my niece's toy room, visible through the slightly ajar door. An antique porcelain music box, a keepsake from Grandma, seemed to exude a faint bluish radiance. I couldn't recall it ever shimmering in such a manner before. Slowly I stood up from the armchair, placing the teacup on the wooden side table. My footsteps on the floor elicited a hushed creak that melded with the cadence of the rain, weaving an almost hypnotic melody. Drawing closer to the door, the glow intensified yet retained a gentle quality, akin to moonlight dancing on tranquil waters. The toy room was a haven of reminiscences and enchantment. Weathered wooden shelves cradled porcelain dolls in Victorian attire, vibrant toy trains, and plush creatures with gentle countenances. Nestled on the central shelf, the music box held a place of honor, surrounded by tiny crystals my niece had gathered during her garden strolls. The porcelain ballerina perched atop the music box, usually frozen in her timeless pose, swayed ever so slightly, as though brushed by an unseen breeze. I inched nearer, noting the room's temperature was notably cooler than the rest of the house. Wisps of vapor escaped my lips, while the crystals encircling the music box seemed to react to its glow, casting miniature rainbows on the walls. The ballerina continued her imperceptible movements, and I could almost discern a faint melody in the distance, a musical whisper from a bygone era. Extending my hand toward the music box, the blue light pulsed gently at that instant. The other dolls on the shelf seemed to have subtly turned their heads to gaze in my direction, but with a blink, they reverted to their original positions. The melody grew clearer. It was Grandma's cherished lullaby, a tune I believed I had long forgotten. The music box commenced turning of its own accord, a leisurely pirouette. The ballerina glided with an eerie grace, her motions fluid like those of a living dancer. The crystals now cast intricate patterns on the ceiling, weaving designs that seemed to narrate tales of yesteryears. The atmosphere in the room thickened with memories, as if time itself had condensed around that small, enchanting object. I stood transfixed, spellbound by the spectacle unfolding before me. The music emanating from the box intertwined with the rain's rhythm, crafting a symphony that whispered of longing and veiled enigmas. The shadows in the room appeared to waltz to the music's tune, and for an instant I felt as though I was not the sole witness to this private performance. Gradually the melody began to wane, like a dream slipping away upon waking. The blue light of the music box dimmed to a faint shimmer, and the ballerina's dance slowed until it halted altogether. Silence descended upon the room once more, yet it bore a different weight, laden with significance and enigma. Returning to my armchair, I lifted my now tepid tea. As I observed the dwindling embers in the fireplace, my thoughts drifted to Grandma and her fondness for objects that held tales within them. I pondered whether she had ever encountered something akin, whether the music box had always harbored that magic, or if it was a special gift reserved for particular moments and observers. Since that night, whenever I passed by the toy room, I stole a glance at the music box. At times I fancied glimpsing a fleeting blue glow or catching the initial notes of that forgotten lullaby. Yet perhaps it's merely memories pirouetting in my mind, akin to that porcelain ballerina on that rainy night. Story 15. The rain cascaded down with a mesmerizing cadence upon the roof of the old house, composing a serene symphony that harmonized with the quiet of the night. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a cup of once warm chamomile tea within my grasp, I found myself entranced by the tranquil melody of the raindrops. Amidst this soothing serenade, a subtle deviation in the symphony captured my attention. A delicate, nearly imperceptible sound that intertwined with the pitter-patter of the rain. Faint footsteps, as if emerging from the depths of the basement. Initially, I dismissed it as the routine settling of the time-worn abode. Ancient homes possess a unique voice, a method of communication through gentle creaks and murmurs. And mine was no exception, particularly on damp evenings when the moisture would coax the wooden structure to murmur softly. Yet there was an unusual quality to the manner in which these sounds materialized this time, as though they followed a deliberate pattern, a rhythm reminiscent of human footfalls. With measured movements, I rose from my seat, setting the cup down on the adjacent table. The wooden floor beneath my feet radiated a subtle warmth, residual heat from the day's lingering fire. As I drew closer to the basement entrance, a chill crept into the air, as if an icy draft ascended from the stairwell. The brass handle, when grasped, yielded an unexpected coldness, and its turning emitted a click that reverberated in the stillness of the house. Descending the staircase, each step taken cautiously, I was accompanied by the echo of my own footfalls mingling with the enigmatic ones heard earlier. The familiar scent of the basement, a blend of aged timber, damp soil, and an indefinable essence, grew more potent with each descent. In the dimly lit basement, shadows cavorted on the walls whenever lightning briefly illuminated the skylight. The shelves, burdened with antiquities, cast contorted shapes that appeared to sway in unison with the rain's rhythm. It was then that I discerned something peculiar. Faint footprints adorned the dusty floor. These were no ordinary imprints. Instead, they seemed like delicate traces of moisture, as though someone with wet feet had paced in circles at the room's center. Intrigued, I approached the footprints, seeking to unravel their origin. The skylight remained intact, and there were no indications of water seepage. While scrutinizing these enigmatic tracks, A subtle movement in the shadowy corner of the basement seized my attention. In the darkest recess where light dared not tread, a presence seemed to stir lethargically. My heartbeat quickened, not out of fear, but from a blend of curiosity and an uncanny sense of recognition. Advancing towards that obscure corner, the air grew colder still. The phantom footsteps previously overhead now encircled me, reverberating throughout the space as if an unseen entity traversed every corner simultaneously. In that moment of epiphany, I discerned a peculiar detail. The footprints on the floor were arranged in a deliberate configuration, a spiral winding towards the room's center. As my gaze traced this spiraled path, I observed the freshest imprints, closest to the heart, still glistening with moisture as if freshly made. I stood transfixed for what felt like an eternity, beholding as these traces gradually dissipated, evaporating into the frigid basement atmosphere. The phantom footfalls dwindled, merging seamlessly with the relentless rain outside. Ascending the stairs once more, a peculiar calm settled within me, as though I had borne witness to an ancient and enigmatic ritual, a timeless ceremony hidden in the depths of the house. That night, as I readied for slumber, the rainfall atop the roof assumed a new quality. No longer mere droplets falling at random, it seemed to echo the rhythmic cadence of the footsteps resonating from below. Drifting into dreams with this melodic lullaby, I pondered whether the footsteps would return on the morrow, and if I would summon the courage to await their mysterious origin in the veiled recesses of the basement. Story 16. The rain whispered softly against the window, creating a tranquil symphony that filled the room with a sense of calm. The air carried the fragrance of damp earth and a hint of cinnamon from the tea brewing on the desk, wisps of steam curling into the air. It was a night made for losing oneself in the pages of a book, letting the words carry you into the realm of dreams. But then, amidst the peaceful ambience, came 3 distinct knocks at the door, sharp and resolute, shattering the quietude. A moment of hesitation hung in the air as I froze, caught off guard by the unexpected interruption. The old armchair sighed gently as I shifted, fingers delicately marking my place in the well-loved paperback resting in my lap. The antique clock on the wall, its hands pointing to 11:47 p.m., added its rhythmic ticking to the soothing patter of rain outside. Living on the top floor meant visitors were a rarity, especially at such a late hour, casting a veil of unease over the situation. The notion of someone seeking entrance in the dead of night sent a shiver down my spine, raising goosebumps on my skin. Motionless, I strained my ears to catch any sound, hoping it was a figment of my imagination influenced by the eerie tales I had been engrossed in. Tentatively, I nestled back into the embrace of my chair, pulling the cozy blanket snug around me, seeking solace in its familiar warmth. And then, it happened again. 3 knocks, evenly spaced, echoing through the stillness, each one a mirror of the previous. My heart quickened, not with fear but with a curious recognition, a feeling of déjà vu that stirred memories buried deep within. Rising slowly, my footsteps muffled by socks on the polished floor, I made my way towards the door, drawn by an unseen force. The soft glow of the reading lamp cast gentle shadows that danced playfully on the walls, lending an otherworldly aura to the room. As I neared the door, a peculiar realization dawned upon me. The usual draft that crept beneath the door, carrying with it the chill of the night, was conspicuously absent, a stark contrast to the storm brewing outside. Standing before the door, I reached out, the smooth surface yielding to the touch of my palm, radiating an unusual warmth that defied logic on this damp evening. Closing my eyes, I immersed myself in the sensory experience unfolding around me. The patter of raindrops, the distant rumble of thunder, the faint vibration of the door against my hand. Another set of 3 knocks reverberated through the door, softer this time, as if hesitant, as if beckoning rather than demanding. The warmth seeped through my palm with each knock, a gentle caress that traveled up my arm in undulating waves, stirring a memory passed down by my grandmother about nights like this, when the boundaries between realms blurred. She spoke of benevolent visitors bearing forgotten truths, of doors that led to realms beyond comprehension. I pondered her words as the knocking ceased, leaving behind a residual warmth that throbbed like a heartbeat. The rain outside had synchronized with the cadence of the knocks, creating a harmonious duet that seemed to suspend time itself, elongating the moment into eternity. The ambient light in the room took on a golden hue, casting an ethereal glow upon every object, infusing the space with a mystical aura. My surroundings, the books on the shelves, the furniture, even the steam rising from my neglected tea, were bathed in a soft, celestial light, as if touched by some divine presence. That night, I chose not to open the door. I lingered, basking in the residual warmth until it slowly dissipated, allowing the rain to resume its random melody. When I returned to my armchair, I discovered my tea still warm, untouched by the passage of time. The clock stubbornly displayed 11:47 p.m., unchanged since the enigmatic knocking had first disrupted the night. Subsequently, on quiet, rainy evenings, a familiar warmth occasionally emanates from the door, a gentle reminder of that mysterious encounter. I've learned to cherish these moments, these enigmatic interludes that hint at the fluidity of reality beyond our grasp. The knocking never recurred, but within me, something shifted that night. I've come to realize that certain enigmas are not meant to be unraveled but embraced, like a soft murmur that fades before comprehension dawns. My grandmother's wisdom resonates within me, guiding me to leave some doors unopened, not out of fear, but out of reverence for the delicate equilibrium between the known and the intangible. The true mystery lies not in the identity of the visitor at my door, but in the awakening of a dormant aspect of my being, previously veiled from my awareness. Drifting into slumber that night, a newfound serenity enveloped me, a tranquility hitherto unknown. The rain continued its gentle descent. The clock maintained its steady cadence, and occasionally, on nights suffused with magic, I feel that familiar warmth against my palm. In those moments, I smile, embracing the enigmatic whispers that lull me into peaceful dreams, their enigmatic essence weaving a tapestry of wonder and tranquility. Story 17. The day had been lengthy and filled with tension, with the only sound in the serene house being the gentle hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. I eased into the plushness of the couch, absent-mindedly glancing at my phone. Suddenly, it buzzed. A ring, then another. Glancing at the screen, I saw my own name flashing back at me. Initially, not fear, but a mild curiosity crept over me, akin to noticing an unexpected shadow in a familiar room. The soft evening light filtered through the curtains, casting delicate patterns on the polished hardwood floor. The phone continued to vibrate, creating a subtle dance against the coffee table's surface. The atmosphere felt altered, denser, more tangible. Above, the ceiling fan whirred softly, its rhythmic hum a soothing contrast to my gradually slowing heartbeat. As my own contact information illuminated the screen, my own photo gazed back at me. When I finally answered, there was no immediate reply, just a soft, ethereal static reminiscent of standing near the ocean at night. The quality of the silence was peculiar, not void but brimming with subtle nuances. I brought the phone closer to my ear, feeling the cool screen against my skin. "Hello," I whispered, my voice barely disturbing the room's peace. The response, when it came, echoed like hearing my own voice played from a distant memory, familiar yet detached from reality. The words were indistinct, but the cadence undeniably mine. Drifting deeper into the couch, my free hand absent-mindedly traced patterns on the fabric. The lamp in the corner cast a warm amber glow that seemed to pulsate with each breath I took. Outside, clouds meandered across the moon, casting shifting shadows that danced along the walls. The voice on the other end began to speak more distinctly, but as though listening to a conversation underwater. I caught phrases that felt significant, references to moments from my past, slightly altered, as if seen through a different lens. Time seemed to flow like honey, the wall clocks ticking, slowing and stretching, each second lingering longer than the last. The voice continued its tranquil monologue, speaking of paths untaken and choices yet to be made. Nodding along, I felt a sense of inexplicable agreement. The room's temperature subtly shifted, not uncomfortably but noticeably, like encountering warm and cool air on a spring evening stroll. My fingers tingled where they held the phone, and the weight of a wedding ring, though I had never been married, felt faintly present. As the conversation unfolded, I noticed subtle discrepancies in my home. Family photos arranged differently, book spines worn in unfamiliar places. The voice spoke of tomorrow, of events awaiting the morning, in a hushed, secretive tone. Leaning in, I was drawn into the gentle foresight of my own voice. Outside, the wind whispered, causing the oak tree's branches to rustle against my window. The natural harmony of nature blended with the voice on the phone, blurring the lines between reality and echo. The conversation ebbed like a river finding its course to the sea. My voice, my own, shared a childhood detail I had long forgotten. The memory blossomed in my mind like a time-lapse flower. When the call ended, I sat in the deepening darkness, the weight of the phone in my hand. The call duration displayed 47 minutes. Yet, my call history held no record of the conversation. Only the lingering warmth of the phone in my palm and the vivid memory of a childhood moment that grew more tangible by the second. Now I sit, watching the night deepen beyond the window. The refrigerator hums its steady lullaby, and a distant clock chimes midnight. My reflection in the window seems to lag a fraction behind my movements, a trick of the imagination, perhaps. The phone rests silent on the table, but at times I catch it lighting up from the corner of my eye, beckoning with my name and face, calling once more. Story 18. The autumn mist draped the park like a delicate shroud of gray satin as leaves swayed lazily in the cool evening breeze. I strolled along the pebbled path, relishing the fragrance of damp soil and the hushed crunch of my footsteps. The dim street lamps cast soft glows in the fog, barely lighting my way forward. And then I spied it, a dark coat, neatly folded on a weathered wooden bench. The park was deserted at that late hour, and the garment appeared meticulously arranged, as if placed with purpose. Drawing nearer, I observed the woolen fabric absorbing the mist's droplets, exuding a subtle warmth as if recently shed. This detail sent a shiver down my spine, not of fear but of intrigue. I gingerly explored the pockets, hoping to uncover a clue about the owner, to no avail except for a lone bus ticket from 1985. Time seemed to linger as I inspected this relic from another era. The ticket, aged and yet impeccably preserved, seemed untouched by the years. Seated beside the coat, I let my mind wander as the fog thickened around me. A faint scent of lavender and pipe tobacco emanated from the coat, conjuring memories of days long past, of fading monochrome photographs. Upon closer examination, I discovered faded initials JM, intricately embroidered in golden thread inside the coat. The park's silence was broken by a distant melody, an old tune, perhaps from a distant gramophone, wafting through the air like a blurred memory. Rising from the bench to trace the music's origin, it seemed to emanate from all directions and none at once. When I glanced back at the coat, its position had subtly shifted, the fold no longer pristine, a button catching the light differently. Yet I remained certain of my solitude in the park. Time meandered at an unusual pace as the fog enveloped everything in its embrace. The streetlights cast gentle shadows on the fallen leaves, and the music's echoes waned. I pondered the identity of JM, musing on why they had abandoned their coat on that bench. Were they a scholarly figure finding solace in park strolls, a musician seeking inspiration, or an individual parting with a fragment of their past? Lost in contemplation, I felt a fleeting touch on my shoulder, akin to a whisper of wind. Startled, I turned, only to find the fog swirling around me. The coat appeared weathered, as though time had hastened its aging, fading its hue and fraying its fabric. Respecting the mystery, I chose to leave the coat undisturbed. As I departed, the music briefly crescendoed, a waltz unfamiliar yet oddly familiar, resonating in the air. The next morning, curiosity led me back to the park. The bench stood empty, yet the dew-kissed wood bore a perfect impression of where the coat had rested. Beside it lay a fresh bus ticket, dated for that very day. Even now, on misty evenings passing by that bench, I catch whispers of that distant melody and catch hints of lavender and tobacco on the breeze. Sometimes, as the streetlights flicker in the fog, I glimpse the silhouette of a refined figure wandering the park. But upon closer inspection, all that remains are the dancing shadows of leaves in the evening wind. Story 19. Silence draped the narrow streets of the quaint hillside town like a soft velvet cloak. It was an autumn evening filled with the scent of wood smoke and damp leaves, as a veil of fog slinked through the alleys like a silent specter. Peering from my perch on the third floor, I gazed at the warm amber glow emanating from the windows of the neighboring houses. An unusual sight, so many lights ablaze at this late hour, yet behind the misty panes, no signs of life stirred. The church bell chimed 10 times, its toll resonating with an eerie hollowness, as if the sound itself was shrouded in a quilt of cotton. Though I had only recently settled in this town 3 weeks prior, I had never witnessed the streets so devoid of activity. Normally, even at this late hour, a solitary figure or two would amble by, perhaps an elder out walking their faithful hound, or the youthful crowd from the local bar engaged in banter under the flickering street lamp. Nestled in my favorite armchair, cradling a cup of chamomile tea, I observed the absence of even the stray cat that often prowled along Mrs. Miller's windowsill. Wisps of steam pirouetted from the cup, crafting fleeting shapes that dissolved into the shadows of the room. Opting for just a small reading lamp, its gentle glow casting soft shadows on the walls, I relished the quiet stillness that enveloped me. A sudden rustle in the hallway seized my attention. It sounded as if a delicate hand was gliding a sheet of paper across the floor. Intrigued rather than frightened, I rose from my seat, setting the cup down on the wooden side table beside me. As I approached the hallway, a chill tugged at the air. Not the harsh bite of winter, but a coolness reminiscent of entering an ancient cathedral. The floorboards murmured beneath my feet, a familiar sound that oddly comforted me. Halting at the threshold of the bedroom, I paused. The door stood slightly ajar, emitting a faint bluish light, unlike any other illumination in the house. With a gentle push, the door creaked open, revealing a closed window through which the curtain fluttered as if stirred by a phantom breeze. On the floor, beneath the window, lay a single sheet of paper. Bending to retrieve it, I noticed it was a weathered newspaper page dated October 15, 1954, its headline seizing my immediate attention: Mysterious Night of Silence in Pine Grove. The article recounted an evening when the townsfolk had collectively retreated into their homes, as if bound by an unspoken pact whose origins had faded into obscurity. As I perused the text, movement outside the window drew my gaze. Across the street, the lights in the houses dimmed one by one, akin to candles extinguished by an unseen hand. Yet within the darkened interiors, motionless silhouettes lingered, their gaze seemingly fixed upon the quiet street. A buzz from my robe pocket startled me, a message from the building's WhatsApp group: "Tonight, stay indoors. It is imperative." Peering out the window anew, I noticed that all lights had now flickered out, save for mine. In the deepening silence, my heartbeat slowed, as though harmonizing with an ancient, enigmatic rhythm. Perching on the edge of the bed, clutching the newspaper sheet, I marveled at its remarkable softness, as though it had been cherished through the ages. Beyond the panes, the fog thickened, encircling the streetlights in a luminous halo. From my vantage point, the main thoroughfare of the town lay deserted, a ghostly reminder of the past. Recalling the words of the article, recounting how the residents had no recollection of the events of that silent night, I rose and made my way to the light switch. Before extinguishing the glow, I cast a final gaze out the window. The mist had coiled into sinuous forms, almost dancing, and for an instant, I fancied I glimpsed spectral figures flitting amidst the milky shroud. With the room plunged into darkness, I settled onto the bed, fully clothed. Silence reigned, broken solely by the measured tick-tock of the clock on the nightstand. Drifting into a profound slumber, I pondered whether come morning I would retain memories of this night, or be akin to the other townsfolk, oblivious to the enigma cyclically unfolding in our midst. The final echo that lingered in my mind as sleep claimed me was the distant toll of midnight bells, their chime oddly muted, as though resonating from a realm where silence was the universal language spoken by all. Story 20. Night had cloaked the ancient countryside, dwelling in a shroud of profound serenity. Nestled in my cherished armchair beside the hearth, I observed the shadows waltzing on the walls as the flames leisurely devoured the logs. A cozy warmth enveloped me like a snug quilt, while beyond, the autumn breeze tenderly caressed the leaves of the trees. In that moment of utter tranquility, a peculiar sound caught my attention. A pure, childlike giggle resonating from the upper floor of the house. A laugh as delicate as silver bells. I paused, allowing the sound to intertwine with the crackling of the fire. There was no hint of menace in it. Instead, it was a joyful, almost melodic laugh. Yet, I had dwelled alone in this abode for more than 2 decades, never playing host to children. Curiosity stirred within me like a gentle brook, gradually dispelling the drowsiness that had nearly overtaken me. With deliberate movements, I rose from the armchair, relishing the sensation as my feet met the aged Persian rug. The floorboards murmured softly beneath me as I made my way towards the staircase. The flickering light from the candles in the living room cast a welcoming glow, casting my shadow on the walls in a silent ballet. Ascending the stairs, I noticed the air growing cooler with each step. Not a biting chill, but a tender touch on the skin, akin to the caress of a sea breeze. The giggle echoed once more, closer this time, emanating from the guest chamber. A room seldom frequented, adorned with antiquated furniture draped in billowy white sheets that swayed gently, moved by an unseen draft. The door stood ajar, emitting a silvery light through the crack, unlike any other illumination in the house. Not moonlight, too warm for that, nor the glow of electric lamps. It possessed a quality of its own, pulsating softly, like a tranquil heartbeat. When I pushed the door open, the ancient wood sang a familiar tune. The room unfolded before me, bathed in that ethereal luminescence. The sheet-covered furniture formed gentle, reassuring shapes, reminiscent of clouds in a clear sky. And there, perched on the windowsill, I beheld something that stole my breath. Not a distinct figure, but a play of light and shadow that seemed to mimic a child. The giggle echoed once more, clearly originating from that radiant presence. No fear gripped me, only an intense sense of wonder. The light child toyed with the beams it emitted, crafting luminous patterns on the walls, as if painting with light itself. Drawing nearer, I felt the room's temperature oscillating gently between cool and warm, like the ebb and flow of ocean waves. As I approached, I discerned a familiarity in the figure. In its fluid motions, I recognized echoes of the same gestures I once made as a child, playing alone in my room. The realization washed over me with the sweetness of a forgotten memory. That laugh, so pure and crystalline, belonged to my childhood self. Time seemed to stretch as I observed that surreal spectacle. The light child continued its silent play, occasionally punctuated by that melodious giggle, now reverberating like a whisper from the past. I refrained from speaking or interfering, fearing to shatter the spell of peace and nostalgia. Gradually, the silvery light began to wane, akin to the sun setting on a winter eve. The child's form grew increasingly insubstantial until naught remained but a faint glow. The final laugh I heard was a mere murmur, a tender farewell before dissolving entirely into darkness. I lingered in the room for what felt like an eternity, enveloped in a serene hush. The furniture's sheets ceased their sway, and the air reverted to its usual temperature. Yet, something had shifted. The guest chamber, once a repository for dusty recollections, now harbored a precious enigma. Retreating to my armchair by the hearth where the fire continued its slow burn, I settled amidst the cushions. It dawned on me that I would never truly decipher the events of that night. Was it a dream, a memory, or perchance something deeper, a message from the past materializing through a child's laughter in the shadows? Since that night, whenever I passed by the guest room, I paused to listen. On the stillest of nights, I catch the faint echo of that crystalline giggle, akin to a tender lullaby guiding me towards slumber. And with a smile, I allow the mystery to endure, a sweet secret shared between myself and the child who laughs in the dark. Story 21. I reside in a petite yet snug apartment where the walls wear a coat of creamy hues and the hardwood floors whisper beneath my naked soles, offering a sense of solace. As I prepared to extinguish the light, a peculiar sight caught my eye. The wardrobe door stood slightly ajar, a deviation from my memory of closing it before retiring to bed. It was 3 weeks ago when this anomaly first emerged, birthing a peculiar nocturnal routine in my life. Each night, without fail, I ensure the wardrobe door is firmly shut, at times even verifying the latch for reassurance. Yet come the witching hours, when darkness blankets the world, I find the door ajar once more, a mere crack beckoning me with its enigmatic presence. Initially, I brushed it off as a figment of my imagination, or perhaps a consequence of drafts from the aged heating system. The gentle whisper of air through the vents could easily nudge a door left unlatched. But then, subtle alterations began to unveil themselves, casting doubt upon my initial explanations. In the hushed moments between midnight and the break of dawn, I discerned faint sounds emanating from within the wardrobe. Not ominous noises, but rather a soft rustle akin to fabric swaying in the breeze or the gentle murmur of autumn leaves caressing a window pane. It carried a melodic quality in its softness, a lullaby woven from sighs and silk. My garments hung undisturbed, preserving their orderly arrangement, yet occasionally, upon opening the door in the morning, a new fragrance greeted me. It bore the essence of rain-drenched gardens and distant echoes of my grandmother's abode, a blend of lavender and an elusive, ancient aroma that defied naming. Thus, I found myself seated during the nocturnal hours, observing the wardrobe in the pale moonlight filtering through my curtains. The shadows danced playfully, deceiving my senses and painting the darkness within the wardrobe with an illusion of depth and vastness exceeding its physical confines. At times I fancied detecting movements within that darkness, akin to ripples upon a midnight pool. And on one particularly serene night, a subtle glow emerged beneath the door, barely perceptible, yet captivating. This luminance bore no resemblance to the harsh blue of electronic devices or the golden hue of street lamps. Rather, it mirrored the soft, ancient radiance of starlight, silver, timeless, and oddly comforting. It pulsed rhythmically, echoing the cadence of my own breath like a shared heartbeat with the unknown. Intrigued by these nocturnal mysteries, I began leaving small trinkets near the wardrobe. A flower plucked during my morning stroll, a feather discovered on my windowsill, a smooth stone that caught my eye. Each dawn revealed their rearrangement, executed with such precision and intent that randomness seemed an impossibility. One morning, a blank sheet of paper transformed overnight, adorned with frost-like patterns that dissipated with the rising sun. Curiously, fear did not accompany these enigmatic occurrences. There existed a strange comfort in the nightly rituals, as though the wardrobe harbored a gentle secret, ancient and wise, choosing to coexist within my living quarters. The sounds and scents that unfurled became a familiar lullaby, soothing me into a profound slumber unlike any other. These nocturnal phenomena ushered subtle changes into my life. My dreams blossomed with vivid imagery. Vast libraries with shelves extending into eternity, gardens blooming beneath starlit skies, and doors leading to realms beyond comprehension. I awoke each morning rejuvenated, cradling remnants of these nocturnal adventures like precious gems within my consciousness. At times I pondered whether the wardrobe transcended mere portal status, evolving into a guardian of my nights. This notion, far from instilling dread, brought solace. For what could be more magical than embracing the existence of mysteries within our most intimate spaces, a reminder of the enchantment veiled within reality? This clandestine bond remained undisclosed to visitors, though their presence in my abode dwindled with time. It evolved into a private communion between myself and the ethereal entity that shared my nights. In their presence, the wardrobe remained sealed, safeguarding its secrets like an unspoken pact. Last night, before retiring, I left a note of gratitude. At dawn, I discovered it replaced by a flower of ethereal beauty, petals akin to moonlight, exuding a fragrance evoking childhood reveries. I pressed it within the pages of my journal, a keepsake symbolizing the enigmatic beauty intertwining with my existence. Despite the inevitability of the wardrobe door creaking open each night, I now perform the ritual with a smile, as though confiding in an old confidant. Some may label it as haunting, yet I perceive it as a selection, chosen to partake in a wondrous, inexplicable phenomenon, a testament to the enduring magic enveloping our reality. And so I embrace the nightly routine, surrendering to slumber with the assurance that the door will yield to the soft magic seeking entry. Amidst a world characterized by clamor and certitude, finding solace in a mystery that whispers rather than clamors, that inspires wonder instead of fear, proves to be a sanctuary for my restless soul. Story 22. The gentle crackling of the fireplace enveloped the room in a cozy embrace, casting flickering shadows that danced along the walls. By my side, my dog rested peacefully, his fur soft beneath my fingertips as I stroked him. His eyes were half-lidded, drifting into the realm of dreams. But then, in an instant, he tensed. His ears perked up, his breaths grew labored. With a sudden burst of energy, he leaped to his feet and let out a series of urgent barks, fixating on a shadowy corner of the room. Initially, I brushed off his behavior as typical canine sensitivity to the subtlest of sounds, a rustling leaf, a scurrying mouse. Yet this time felt different. His barks held an air of uncertainty, as if he were posing a question to the unseen. The flames of the fire painted intricate patterns of light and shadow, drawing my gaze to that darkened corner. There, an ancient bookshelf stood, its time-worn frame housing rows of dusty books. Nothing seemed amiss, yet Max's unwavering stare and enigmatic barks persisted. A chill crept into the room, a peculiar coldness emanating from that very corner, as though a pocket of winter had invaded the space. Wrapping my blanket tighter around me, I observed as Max tentatively approached the enigmatic spot, his tail held low but not tucked, a silent sentinel in our nightly ritual. As twilight descended and I settled into my favorite armchair, Max's attention unfailingly turned to that mysterious corner. Sometimes he would observe in tense silence, his body poised for any movement. Other times he would emit soft, plaintive barks, attempting to communicate with a presence beyond my perception. Gradually, subtle changes began to manifest in the room. Books shifting position overnight, temperature fluctuations despite my solitary presence, fleeting scents of ancient parchment and dew lingering in the air. My rational mind sought logical explanations, settling floorboards, drafts, or the tricks of an overactive imagination in the quiet hours. One evening, while absorbed in the glow of lamplight, I heard Max's familiar warning bark. Raising my eyes, I beheld a sight both mesmerizing and inexplicable. Dust motes near the bookshelf moved against the natural currents, swirling and coalescing into formations resembling letters before dispersing back into the air. Max whined softly, leaning against me, his demeanor vigilant yet not overtly fearful, as if fulfilling a dual role of protector and mediator between realms. In an effort to unravel the mysteries unfolding before us, I began documenting these occurrences in a journal, cataloging the timing of events, temperature shifts, and Max's diverse responses. Over time, patterns emerged like shadows sharpening in the dim light of dusk. The phenomena intensified during the waning moon or amidst the gentle patter of rain against the window panes. The displaced books always hailed from the same shelf, ancient volumes of poetry and folklore steeped in the history of the house. In the liminal space between wakefulness and slumber, I sensed a fleeting connection to Max's perceptions. The corner appeared to extend infinitely, the shadows acquiring a liquid quality, imbued with a vitality of their own. Yet each time I attempted to focus on these spectral manifestations, they slipped through my grasp like elusive water. Despite the enigma that enveloped us, there lingered an aura of gentle curiosity, as if we, Max, myself, and our unseen companion, were engaged in a delicate dance of discovery. Gradually, the enigma became a comforting presence, akin to an old, well-worn sweater offering solace on chilly evenings. Presently, as I pen these words by the warm glow of the fire, Max lies at my feet, occasionally lifting his head to regard our enigmatic corner. The bookshelf stands sentinel, its shadows concealing secrets that may forever elude my understanding. Yet, I've grown to cherish this peculiar communion with the unknown, accepting that some riddles are not meant to be unraveled but savored, like the gentle hues of twilight or the caress of the wind through ancient trees. The fire crackles merrily, casting its golden light across the room. Max has succumbed to a peaceful slumber, his ears twitching intermittently in dreams. In the corner, the shadows deepen with the arrival of night, harboring their age-old whispers. Perhaps comprehension transcends mere sight, manifesting instead in the silent whispers of the heartbeats that bridge the gap between the known and the unseen. Story 23. The gentle patter of rain on the windows of the cozy establishment created a soothing symphony that harmonized with the soft clinks of cups and the murmurs of the few lingering patrons. Perched at the bar, I observed the flickering reflections of dim lights dancing on the polished surface of the dark wood. Jack, the bartender, polished glasses with a slow, methodical rhythm, almost entrancing in its cadence. That evening, a subtle shift in his gaze caught my attention, a depth I hadn't noticed in my routine visits before. His dark eyes held a mysterious allure as he prepared my usual lavender tea. While his hands moved with customary precision, a faint tremor betrayed an underlying tension when he placed the cup before me. The aroma of lavender wafted through the air, mingling with the scent of coffee and aged wood that permeated the space. Jack's surreptitious glances towards a solitary figure seated in the farthest corner intrigued me. The figure remained motionless, blending into the surroundings as if a part of the furniture. With deliberate motions, Jack approached to refill my cup, his controlled breathing belying a subtle strain in his voice as he inquired if I desired anything else. It was then that a disquieting detail caught my eye. A faint reddish stain marred the cuff of his otherwise immaculate white shirt, barely visible in the dim ambience of the establishment. As the hours drifted by, the rain continued its hypnotic descent, and one by one, the other patrons bid their farewells, leaving behind vacant chairs and forgotten cups. Solemnly still, the enigmatic figure in the corner remained, as if anticipating an unknown arrival. Jack meticulously organized the counter, his meticulous actions betraying a growing unease, while the pendulum clock's relentless ticking underscored the passage of time. Another detail seized my attention. Concealed among the bottles beneath the counter lay a weathered notebook with meticulous handwriting filling its yellowed pages. Names, dates, and places flowed in orderly succession, but the final entries intrigued me the most. A series of cryptic notations, seemingly incongruous numbers, and meticulously drawn symbols. The sound of footsteps drew my gaze upward. The mysterious figure finally stirred from their seat and made their way towards the exit. A meaningful exchange of glances with Jack passed in a fleeting moment, heavy with palpable tension. The bartender nodded imperceptibly, and the stranger vanished into the rainy night. Jack resumed his duties, yet a subtle shift in his demeanor was palpable. His usually steady hands now trembled as he arranged the glasses, his gaze distant as if grappling with forgotten memories or burdensome truths. Just as I prepared to depart, Jack halted me with a gentle gesture. In a calm, almost whispered tone, he remarked, "There are secrets that a bartender bears witness to, secrets that are best left veiled within these walls. Yet, sometimes the weight of these hidden truths becomes too burdensome to carry alone." His words hung in the air, imbued with a solemn gravity. I turned towards him, observing the dance of shadows cast by the flickering lamplight on his fatigued visage. The notebook, a silent sentinel of enigmatic revelations, remained nestled among the bottles. A faint, weary smile graced Jack's lips, failing to reach his eyes. "Return tomorrow," he murmured. "Perhaps a tale will be shared, or perhaps not." Stepping out into the shrouded night, the rain's gentle descent persisted. Through the window of the bar, I glimpsed Jack resuming his meticulous chores, a facade of normalcy masking the hidden depths within. The dimming lights of the establishment faded as I departed, allowing darkness to enshroud the mysteries concealed within those walls. I pondered the multitude of untold stories nestled beneath bar counters, the silent sentinels like Jack, safeguarding secrets too weighty to unveil. Yet the true extent of these unseen narratives eluded me, veiled by the comforting rhythm of the rain and the starless night. Story 24. The aged farmhouse exuded a distinct aroma, a blend of dust and time-worn wood. As the sun dipped low in the afternoon sky, its rays filtered through the windows, painting elongated shadows on the stone floors. Amidst the task of rearranging furniture, a peculiar sight caught my eye. A faint draft of air and a slender crack along the wall, hinting at a concealed passage. Running my fingertips over the surface, I detected a subtle shift in texture. The worn wallpaper, bearing the marks of time, revealed a nearly imperceptible seam. The house had always spoken to me in its quiet language, the gentle groan of floorboards, the soft rustle of branches against panes. But this was a different conversation. It felt like an unspoken invitation. As dusk settled and the warm amber hues of twilight bathed the house, my curiosity drew me back to that mysterious wall. The shifting light unveiled a previously unnoticed anomaly in the wallpaper, forming a perfect rectangle about 7 feet tall. With a steady heartbeat, I pressed against various points, recalling tales of hidden mechanisms and clandestine passages. A hushed sound, barely audible yet unmistakable, signaled the unlocking of a secret. Beneath my touch, the wall yielded slightly, ushering in a cool breath of air as the concealed door swung open into darkness. The ancient hinges, devoid of protest, moved as if anticipating this moment. Guided by the glow of my flashlight, I ventured into the revealed passage, a narrow corridor adorned with dark wooden panels that seemed to swallow the light. The air carried a peculiar sweetness, reminiscent of dried blooms and aged parchment. Each step echoed with a sense of purpose, the aged wooden floor sturdy beneath my feet. The corridor extended for roughly 20 feet before opening into a chamber that left me awestruck. Though not expansive, the room exuded a profound sense of vast tranquility. Dust particles danced in the beam of my flashlight, while built-in shelves lined the walls. Yet, it was the collection of letters that captivated my attention. Numerous envelopes neatly arranged on a small writing desk at the room's center. Sealed and untouched, the letters bore yellowed crests of age, addressed in elegant script to unfamiliar names. Adjacent lay an antique fountain pen, its silver nib tarnished yet alluring, and an inkwell long desiccated. The scene appeared suspended in time, as if the room's occupant had momentarily stepped away, intending to return. An aged armchair stood in a corner, its fabric faded yet retaining a rich hue, positioned beside a side table, hosting a brass reading lamp. Every surface bore a delicate film of dust, softening contours and muting colors, imbuing the space with an ethereal essence. The room felt less like a concealed chamber and more like a cherished memory, meticulously preserved. Sinking into the embrace of the armchair, I sensed the room's gentle pulse. The air, though still, whispered of life, as if the room itself breathed. As moments passed, details emerged. Faded photographs in simple frames adorning the walls, a pair of neatly folded reading glasses on a shelf, a half-drunk cup of tea now evaporated, leaving a delicate ring within the porcelain. Time flowed differently within this sanctuary. The usual sounds of the house, the settling beams, the whispering winds, felt distant, muted. Instead, a profound silence enveloped the space, hinting at enigmatic truths just beyond reach. Curiosity stirred about the room's creator, the individual who had occupied the armchair and penned letters never sent. With night descending, a sense of departure tugged at me, yet an unseen force anchored me in place. The room harbored a narrative, withholding its secrets in tantalizing whispers. In the flashlight's beam, a new revelation unfolded. A small leather-bound book, nestled between larger tomes on a shelf. Attempting to recall its initial placement proved futile. I find myself frequenting the room, often seated for hours in that time-worn armchair. The unopened letters remain untouched, their contents shrouded in privacy. At times, under the perfect light, elusive glimpses of writing appear through the envelopes, only to shift and elude comprehension. The room has evolved into my personal refuge, where time flows like honey and enigmas rest unobtrusive. Yet an unexplained phenomenon lingers. Upon each return, subtle changes manifest. A displaced book, relocated glasses, a different dust pattern on the writing desk. Relying on rationality, I dismiss these occurrences as figments of imagination, attributing them to unreliable memories. Yet, during quiet moments in the armchair, a faint scratching of pen on paper tickles my senses, barely discernible amidst the settling house, or perhaps something more profound. Story 25. The night enveloped the world in a cloak of stillness, broken only by the gentle rhythm of the train wheels caressing the tracks. Nestled in the final carriage, I found myself bathed in a soft ethereal glow emanating from the delicate fixtures above. The air held a comforting warmth, and the ceaseless movement of the train wove a mesmerizing spell around me. Peering through the window, I beheld the mist swirling lazily in the darkness, crafting ephemeral shapes that dissolved into the night. It was a tranquil dance, a silent performance for an audience of one. Or so I believed. My reflection in the glass mingled with the shadows beyond, hinting at a presence lurking just out of sight. The symphony of the rails whispered ancient tales, their cadence a mechanical lullaby beckoning me towards slumber. Yet, as I gazed upon my mirrored image, a disquieting realization stirred within me. A shadow loomed behind, a form seated a few rows away. No memory of their arrival lingered in my mind, yet there they sat, an enigmatic silhouette in the dimness. The train pressed on through the nocturnal expanse, the wheels spinning yarns of old that only the night could comprehend. With cautious deliberation, I shifted my gaze towards the figure. Bathed in amber hues, the carriage draped itself in elongated shadows, shrouding the mysterious passenger in obscurity. Cloaked in darkness, their countenance obscured by a broad-brimmed hat, the figure remained motionless, a silent sentinel amidst the ebb and flow of time. The air thickened with whispers of bygone eras, a tapestry of memories woven in a space not entirely my own. An impulse seized me, propelling me towards the rear of the carriage under the guise of a mundane errand. Each step brought me closer to the enigmatic presence, revealing a coat that seemed to swallow the feeble light, a chill emanating from the void that enveloped them. The scent of lavender and aged paper hung in the air, a ghostly perfume that clung to the fabric of reality. Passing by the vacant seat occupied by the silent voyager, I felt a suspension of time, the distant hum of the wheels fading into a realm beyond reach. A disconcerting revelation awaited at the end of the carriage. The figure's form lay motionless beneath the cloak, devoid of the telltale rise and fall of breath. Uncertainty gripped me as I hesitated, the corridor stretching infinitely before me, its flickering lights tracing hypnotic patterns upon the floor. Upon glancing back, the seat once inhabited by the mysterious entity stood vacant, a solitary relic left in its wake. An aged ticket, weathered by time, lay as the sole testament to our brief encounter. Its date, a half-century past, mirrored the present night, its warmth hinting at recent contact. Returning to my seat, the ticket cradled in my trembling grasp, I succumbed to the lull of the train's journey. Beyond the misted window, figures flitted in the shadows, walking in silent procession alongside the nocturnal voyage. As weariness dulled my senses, I pondered the countless souls who might have shared in this surreal rendezvous aboard the final train of night. The ticket, a fragile relic of an ephemeral encounter, slipped through my fingers like a fading dream upon waking. The train, a vessel of secrets both seen and unseen, continued its clandestine odyssey through the shroud of night. Drifting into slumber, a fleeting trace of lavender and the echo of retreating footsteps lingered in the air, a whispered farewell from the enigmatic passenger of the night. Story 26. The hotel's sign shimmered softly, casting an almost surreal light into the misty night. The doorman greeted me with a subtle smile, and the aroma of ancient wood and wax enveloped me as I traversed the lobby. My room, though modest, cradled me in comfort, beckoning me to sleep, wearied from my travels. As dawn broke, I descended to the reception area, only to discover an empty expanse where the hotel once stood. Standing there, my travel bag hanging languidly from my shoulder, I gazed at the lush grass swaying gently in the morning zephyr. The crisp air carried the fragrance of dew and untamed blossoms, a stark contrast to the refined elegance of polished wood and fine leather I had encountered mere hours before. My mind grappled to reconcile the reality before me with the vivid memories of the previous evening, etched in my mind with exquisite detail. The antique brass key, cool and weighty in my hand, had been passed to me by the doorman. The rich burgundy carpet beneath my feet had hushed my steps as I journeyed to room 247. The hallway wallpaper, adorned with delicate golden leaves, seemed to quiver and dance in the warm glow of the wall sconces. My fingertips traced the spot on my wrist where it had rested against the sleek mahogany desk while signing the guest book, its leather-bound cover substantial, its pages luxurious and cream-hued. The ink had flowed gracefully from the fountain pen as I inscribed my name, the doorman nodding in approval at my signature. The room itself exuded a quiet opulence, heavy velvet drapes framing tall windows overlooking a serene courtyard garden, bed linens exhaling a hint of lavender, a solitary rose gracing a crystal vase on the bedside table. I vividly recall the soft click of the vintage radiator warming the room and the gentle tick-tock of an ancient clock on the mantel. Yet what lingers most is the haunting melody. As I drifted into slumber, faint piano notes wafted up from below, unfamiliar yet achingly nostalgic, akin to a half-remembered lullaby. The music, delicate and elusive, still resonates in my mind, a melody I cannot replicate but can hear with crystal clarity. Hours have slipped away as I ponder my sanity, retracing my steps from that enigmatic evening. The taxi driver who ferried me here appears ordinary in recollection, though the memory of payment eludes me. The street, now bathed in morning light, appears both familiar and foreign. The adjacent buildings stand stoically, yet the gap where the hotel once stood seems as though it had never been occupied. A disquieting revelation awaited me as I reached into my pocket this morning. The brass key, steadfast and tangible, its aged engravings declaring 247 with a worn, smooth patina. Its presence, a weighty reassurance, reminds me that my experiences were not mere illusions. Inquiries at nearby establishments yield no recollection of a hotel's existence, leaving me adrift in a sea of uncertainty. An elderly woman, upon hearing my description, cast a peculiar glance my way before hastening off, her mutterings trailing behind her. Local archives offer no evidence of the hotel's presence or demise, as if it had vanished from history's annals. Each night, as I drift into slumber, the fragrance of polished wood and aged leather envelops me, and ethereal piano notes tiptoe through the realms of my consciousness. This enigmatic melody carries a cryptic message just beyond my grasp, akin to deciphering a familiar language through a haze. The key now rests on my nightstand, its gleam sometimes flickering, as if recalling the lock it once opened. Though tempted to discard it, an unseen force halts my hand each time. Perhaps on a mist-laden night, I'll turn a corner and behold that softly gleaming sign once more. Perhaps the doorman will stand there, his knowing smile ready to welcome me back. Until that fateful reunion, I hold on to the key, pondering the transient existence of a hotel that lingered for a solitary night, the melodies that serenade solely in my memory, and the myriad guests who might have inhabited rooms that now dwell solely in the realm of the forgotten. Story 27. The November breeze whispered through the dry leaves scattered across the driveway, painting a serene picture against the backdrop of the abandoned mansion looming under the heavy gray sky. Known as the Never-Inhabited House, a title that only held half-truths, for whispers of a resident from long ago lingered in the shadows of its forgotten halls. Approaching the weathered gate, my fingertips met the cold touch of the wrought iron bars, sending a shiver down my spine. The scent of moss and damp stone hung in the air, wrapping the neglected garden in a cloak of mystery. As a real estate agent tasked with assessing the property, I ventured further into the overgrown garden, my eyes catching glimpses of freshly made paths winding through the tangled foliage. Who could be treading these hidden trails when the neighbors swore the mansion remained untouched by human presence? With a soft creak, the front door yielded to my touch, revealing a world veiled in a bluish twilight and layered with the weight of time. Dust danced in the air, mingling with the scent of aged wood as I treaded cautiously through the silent rooms. The main salon greeted me with ghostly shapes draped in yellowed sheets, their forms hinting at a past life frozen in time. The grand mirrors on the walls played tricks with the dim light, casting illusions of movement in their cloudy reflections. Climbing the staircase, each step echoed with the whispers of countless souls that had once roamed these halls. Behind the closed doors of the upper floor, I captured the emptiness of each room through my lens until I reached the final door. A bedroom, frozen in a moment untouched by time, hinted at a feminine presence that lingered in the air. Dust settled on every surface, except where traces of recent disturbance hinted at a visitor unseen. A silver brush lay beside strands of dark, freshly shed hair, a quiet testament to a presence that defied explanation. The perfectly made bed bore a slight indentation, as if someone had sat upon it moments before my arrival. A flicker in the mirror caught my eye, a fleeting glimpse of a spectral figure seated on the bed, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. Descending the stairs, a soft hum carried through the air, tugging at the strings of memory with its haunting melody. The afternoon light shifted, casting deeper shadows that seemed to watch my every move as I hastened towards the exit. Closing the door behind me, the silence of the garden enveloped me, broken only by the echo of a pale glow flickering in an upstairs window. In the days that followed, my report on the property painted a picture of its potential, omitting the mysterious details that whispered of a presence unseen. The house lingered on the market, a beacon for those drawn to its enigmatic charm. Each visit to the rusty gate revealed a glimpse of a figure moving through the upper rooms, a silent specter waiting in the shadows. Perhaps the secret of the never-inhabited house lay not in its emptiness, but in the presence that lingered, a reminder that some souls never truly leave the places they once called home. Story 28. The bed was a cocoon of comfort, the blankets embracing me in their soft warmth. A faint light seeped through the curtains, and the steady ticking of the clock filled the room with a soothing cadence. I inhaled the clean scent of freshly laundered sheets, surrendering to the heaviness of sleep. But then, a subtle disturbance, a rustle, barely audible, yet unnervingly close. It originated from beneath the bed. I lay motionless, my breaths measured and calm. Years of solitary living had honed my senses to scrutinize every unfamiliar noise, but this one carried a different weight. It wasn't the usual creaking of floorboards or the whisper of wind through windows. This sound held a presence that thickened the air around me. Despite the intrusion, the bedroom exuded its usual sense of security. Shadows danced softly on the walls, cast by the streetlight outside. My collection of weathered books stood sentinel on the shelves, their spines creating a mosaic of muted colors in the dimness. The vintage alarm clock's ticking persisted, a sound that typically lulled me into slumber but now seemed to punctuate each moment of heightened alertness. Another sound surfaced, almost imperceptible. A slow inhale, not mine, followed by an exhale carrying a hint of mint and a deeper, earthy aroma akin to damp soil after rainfall. My fingers curled gently into the sheets, not out of fear but contemplation. While my rational mind sought logical explanations like the heating system or a stray animal, a primal instinct whispered otherwise. I let my hand glide to the edge of the mattress, not to investigate but to sense. The space underneath felt cooler, yet possessed an unusual density, akin to dipping my fingers into water. The sensation evoked memories of childhood swimming lessons, of glimpsing enigmatic shapes that straddled solidity and fluidity. Time meandered with peculiar elasticity. The clock maintained its rhythmic beat, yet minutes expanded and contracted like shadows at dusk. I drifted between wakefulness and a near meditative state, attuned to every subtle sound and shift in the atmosphere. The presence below lingered, neither menacing nor benevolent, merely coexisting with my consciousness. Throughout the night, minute details emerged that might have eluded a more anxious mind. The delicate breeze around my dangling hand carried traces of a floral fragrance, reminiscent of night-blooming jasmine. Occasionally, a soft tapping sound, akin to fingers drumming on wood, resonated with an eerie echo, as if emanating from a deep well. As dawn approached, the darkness altered its quality. The street lamp's glow yielded to the muted light of early morning, accompanied by a shift in the subterranean ambience. The presence seemed to retreat, like the ebb of tides from the shore, leaving an intangible residue. A sense of having shared the night with an alien consciousness governed by its enigmatic rules lingered. When I mustered the courage to peer beneath the bed as sunlight bathed the room, I discovered naught but dust and shadow. Yet the space appeared larger, deeper than expected, and the floor exuded a warmth incongruent with the morning chill. On the farthest board, barely discernible in the dimness, lay a solitary handprint, smaller than mine, etched not in dust but what resembled morning dew. I refrained from erasing it. Some enigmas warrant preservation, existing in the tranquil realm between reality and fantasy. Each night, as I nestle in bed, I observe how the sounds below adopt an almost companionable nature. The soft rustling, the gentle exhalations, the occasional whisper of movement. I've come to acknowledge that not all mysteries demand fear. Sometimes they serve as gentle reminders that our world is vaster, deeper, and more wondrously peculiar than we comprehend. The handprint reemerges each morning, unfailingly in the same location, perpetually fresh with dew. I've ceased attempting to decipher its meaning, just as I've relinquished the quest to explain why my slumber is now more profound than ever before. Certain inquiries are best left as tender mysteries, drifting in the realm between wakefulness and reverie, where the boundary separating knowledge from intuition thins to a delicate thread. Story 29. The gentle hum of rain on the roof wove a soothing melody as I readied myself for another solitary evening in my aged country abode. With each drop trickling down the window, intricate patterns formed and swirled in the soft glow of the candlelight I had kindled to stave off encroaching darkness. Outside, the breeze caressed the garden trees, setting the leaves to rustling in a natural lullaby. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a warm cup of tea, I absent-mindedly watched wisps of steam spiral delicately into the air. The house murmured its usual chorus. The gentle groans of contracting wood, the rhythmic tick-tock of the entryway clock, the faint whistle of wind weaving through unseen crevices. Everything appeared ordinary, yet an intangible unease began to stir within the tranquility of the evening. It was during a sip of tea that I noticed a peculiar anomaly. Through the hallway mirror's reflection, the upstairs bedroom window seemed to emit a peculiar glow, as though a candle flickered within. Yet I knew without question that no light illuminated that room. Setting down my cup with a deliberate gentleness, I rose from the armchair and made my way to the staircase. Each wooden step groaned beneath my weight, a familiar sound after years of dwelling in this abode. That night, however, every creak bore a different timbre, as if the house itself sought to convey a message. As I ascended, the air grew colder, a faint moisture clinging to the walls of the upper corridor. Upon reaching the bedroom door, I hesitated before turning the brass handle. Its chill bit into my palm, an almost icy sensation. With a soft squeak, the door swung open, revealing the room cloaked in shadows. The window, the very one I had glimpsed in the mirror, remained shut. Yet to my astonishment, the lock began to shift of its own accord, as if guided by invisible hands. Slowly, steadily, the window inched open, devoid of any visible force propelling it. The breeze that entered bore no strength to justify such movement, carrying with it a fragrance both sweet and ancient, redolent of dried blooms and aged timber. Approaching cautiously, I observed raindrops pirouette into the room, forming intricate patterns in mid-air before alighting gently upon the floor. Amid this inexplicable display, a movement seized my attention. Upon the misted window glass, words materialized as though an unseen hand traced them. The script unfurled slowly, too blurred to decipher. The curtains stirred softly, though no draft stirred the air, their motion akin to the slow, rhythmic breaths of slumbering being. Moonlight, filtered through rain-swollen clouds, cast dancing shadows upon the walls, wordlessly narrating tales of ages past. Extending a hand toward the window, I felt the cool breath of the night air caress my fingers. Just as I neared the glass, poised to make contact, the window closed with a gentle grace, the same deliberate slowness with which it had opened. A soft click of the lock echoed through the room, and the ancient scent that had pervaded the space began to dissipate. Motionless, I stood for minutes on end, attuned to the ceaseless patter of rain outside. The room had reverted to its familiar guise, yet an indefinable shift had occurred. It was as though the house had sought to unveil a fragment of an alternate realm, one that intersected our own reality in fleeting moments, where the boundary between fact and enigma grew as thin as gossamer. Since that night, whenever rain falls, I find myself ensconced in my armchair, gazing at the bedroom window's reflection in the hallway mirror. At times, it remains still. At others, it opens gradually, a silent ritual that has woven itself into the fabric of my existence. The source of this phenomenon remains a mystery, a secret shared only between myself and these ancient walls. On the stillest of nights, when the wind whispers through the trees and rain descends in a gentle cadence, I almost sense a familiar presence, a silent guardian who watches over me from the shadows, manifesting through a window that opens unaided. Story 30. In the soft glow of moonlight filtering through the sheer curtains, delicate shadows swayed across the weathered wooden floor. Nestled in my beloved armchair, I embraced the hush of the night when my eyes landed upon the aged mahogany box perched upon the mantelpiece. It had always occupied that spot, a silent sentinel in this house passed down from my grandmother, yet its contents remained a mystery, untouched by curious hands. The glossy surface of the box caught the moon's gentle rays, its intricate carvings appearing to shift subtly in the darkness. Not once had I witnessed it open, not even in my grandmother's time. It was merely a part of the room's decor, blending into the background like a forgotten relic of the past. But on this particular night, a shift in the air hinted at a change. Perhaps it was the way the moonlight danced on the inlaid designs, or maybe it was the profound stillness that enveloped the room. Rising from my chair, the wool of my sweater whispered against the fabric as I moved through the room's sacred quiet. Each step creaked softly on the wooden floor as I drew closer to the enigmatic box. A peculiar density seemed to gather around it, a subtle mist of anticipation hanging in the air. My fingertips grazed the smooth mahogany surface, surprisingly warm to the touch, as if it held a hidden vitality. The intricate carvings depicted intertwining leaves and branches, so finely detailed they appeared almost alive. And then, for the first time, I noticed a minuscule detail. A tiny eye nestled amidst the carvings on the lid. Examining the box closer, a faint, ancient fragrance wafted into the room. A scent of sandalwood with an elusive, enigmatic undertone that stirred distant memories within me. Closing my eyes, I allowed the scent to unravel hidden recollections, visions of a woman with a gentle smile, her voice a whisper as she placed something within the box. The sound of the wind outside tugged me back to reality. Tremors quivered through my hands as I traced the edges of the box, a box that seemed to hold secrets long forgotten. Seated on the couch, the box cradled in my hands, I felt its weightless presence, as if it contained something ethereal, a mere whisper of substance. The warmth emanating from within intensified, and for a fleeting moment I felt the tiny carved eye observing me, not with malice, but with a familiarity that sent a shiver down my spine, akin to recognizing a figure from a dream. My grandmother's cryptic words echoed in my mind, a riddle unsolved until the seeker surrenders. In the stillness of the night, with the mysterious box in my hands, her wisdom began to unveil itself. Shadows elongated and danced on the walls, mirroring the box's intricate patterns. The scent deepened, wrapping around me like a comforting veil, drawing me into its hypnotic embrace. Contemplating the generations that had lived within these walls, each passing down the unopened box, I pondered the significance of its contents. Did it truly matter what mysteries lay hidden within? Gently returning the box to its resting place on the mantelpiece, the carved eye seemed to smile, a silent acknowledgement of my decision. Nestling back into my armchair, a newfound tranquility enveloped me. Certain enigmas, once understood, require no unraveling, but simply reverence. The moon's gentle light continued to bathe the room, the night silence now pregnant with meaning. Drifting on the edge of slumber, a faint whisper caught my attention, a sigh or a trick of the wind through the curtains. The box remained, a silent sentinel guarding its secrets, a mystery that needed no solving. And in that acceptance, a serenity unlike any other settled over me, guiding me into the realm of dreams. Story 31. As the night draped the world in a cloak of stillness, a delicate melody floated from afar, weaving through the darkness with a whispering touch. Nestled in the embrace of my cherished armchair, a woolen blanket draped over my knees, and a forgotten cup of chamomile tea resting cold on the nearby table, I glanced up from the pages of a book. The music, like soft snowflakes drifting on a silent breeze, caressed the air as a distant piano that painted an unfamiliar yet oddly nostalgic tune, reminiscent of a dream long faded from memory. Within the walls of my home, shadows waltzed and twirled in the warm glow cast by a solitary lamp perched beside me, creating a dance of light and darkness. With a gentle rustle, I stood up, letting the blanket slip to the floor, and my footsteps, accompanied by the faint creaks of the wooden floor, carried me towards the window of the living room. Outside, under the watchful gaze of the full moon, the garden lay bathed in silver light, trees swaying in a tranquil nocturnal rhythm. In the stillness of the night, a silence enveloped the neighboring houses, shrouding them in a peaceful slumber. Yet, the mysterious melody persisted, its ethereal tendrils reaching out from every corner, beckoning me to unravel its enigmatic origins. Room after room, I wandered, the music shifting and evolving as I roamed. In the kitchen, it whispered from the living room. In the living room, it hummed from the stairs. On the stairs, it descended from the upper floor. A spectral symphony leading me on a wordless journey through the familiar corridors of my abode. Ascending to the upper floor, I noticed my bedroom door slightly ajar, a deviation from my morning routine. Moonbeams filtered through gossamer curtains, casting intricate patterns on the floorboards. The melody grew clearer, more defined, drawing me closer to its elusive heart. At the threshold, I hesitated, taking in the room bathed in the gentle luminescence of night. There, on the bedside table, my ancient music box, a relic from my grandmother, sparkled in the dimness. Never before had I dared to open its lid, convinced of its disrepair. Yet, in the hush of the night, its dulcet notes spun forth, casting a spectral dancer's shadow upon the walls. With each measured step towards the music box, my pulse echoed in time with the haunting melody. The ballerina within, once a dormant figurine, now twirled with renewed life, her porcelain visage morphing into a familiar countenance, my grandmother's likeness, etched with a timeless smile. Her eyes, tiny and profound, met mine fleetingly, and in that fleeting gaze the melody transformed, morphing into a lullaby of yore, a melody that cradled my childhood dreams. Enveloped in a cocoon of tranquility, I stood transfixed, as the music ebbed and flowed, a river of notes cascading through the chamber. When the final strains faded into the ether, the music box closed with a soft click, ushering in a silence pregnant with significance. Descending to my armchair below, I retrieved the fallen blanket, cocooning myself in its warmth once more. The open book lay before me, its words mere shadows in the wake of the night's revelation. My mind lingered on the music box, on the specter of my grandmother, and the untold melodies that lay dormant within its silent confines. Since that fateful night, when the moon casts its argent glow upon the garden and the house hushes into a deep repose, a familiar melody drifts through the air, a reminder of mysteries left unsolved. I no longer seek the source, content to close my eyes and surrender to the nocturnal serenade, for some enigmas are best understood in the soft embrace of silence. Story 32. Steady symphony of raindrops against my window had become a nightly serenade, a familiar companion to my late hours of writing. Each droplet traced a shimmering path down the glass, painting an ever-changing canvas of watery light. The warm amber glow of my desk lamp enveloped me in a gentle sphere of light, while the rest of the room remained cloaked in comforting shadows. I found solace in watching the raindrops, deciphering the intricate patterns of their winding trails. Sometimes, amidst my wandering thoughts, I envisioned hidden tales woven within their crystal-clear paths. But on this particular night, there was a subtle shift in their dance. The water seemed to flow in mysterious ways, as if guided by an unseen hand. Initially, I dismissed it as a trick of my weary eyes, nearly succumbing to the tranquil state between consciousness and dreams. Yet, as I continued to gaze, the peculiar patterns grew more defined. The droplets avoided specific areas of the window, forming dry spaces that gradually outlined a figure. My breath hitched as I leaned in closer, peering through the glass. The reflection not only revealed the rain, but also the dimly lit interior of my room behind me. In that layered reflection of glass and water, I noticed a curious anomaly in my own mirrored image. It seemed slightly delayed, as if mirroring my movements with a subtle lag. The gentle rhythm of the rain intensified, its soothing melody filling the room. Transfixed, I watched as my reflection's hand reached out to touch the glass, mirroring a gesture my own hand had not made. The motion was fluid, graceful, as if following a choreography unknown to me. A delicate warmth spread across my skin, contrasting the cool air near the window. Slowly but unmistakably, my reflection began to transform. Subtle changes altered its features, rendering it simultaneously recognizable and enigmatic. The eyes that met mine held a profound wisdom, depths that transcended time itself. In stillness, I observed as my reflection evolved into a form beyond gender, age, or era, a being outside the constraints of time. The rain wove intricate circles around this enigmatic figure, defying gravity with each mesmerizing movement. A flicker of the desk lamp briefly dimmed the room, ushering in a moment of darkness. In that ephemeral void, a gentle presence enveloped me, as tender as a mother's caress. When the light steadied, my reflection mirrored me once more, every movement perfectly synchronized. Yet, the rain persisted in its impossible dance, a silent reminder of the extraordinary visitation. I remained seated by the window for hours, contemplating the ethereal encounter. The lingering presence I had felt lingered like a cherished melody, neither alarming nor obtrusive. As dawn approached, the rain gradually waned, leaving behind a window adorned with mundane water streaks. Now, on rainy nights, I find myself drawn to that window, pen and paper forgotten on my desk. In moments when the rainfall creates a perfect mirror, I catch fleeting glimpses of that mysterious counterpart watching me through the glass. We share an unspoken understanding, my reflection and I, acknowledging that certain mysteries are meant to be embraced rather than unraveled. The rain persists, each droplet carrying the promise of another encounter, and in the silent exchange between observer and observed, I ponder if in a parallel realm, another version of myself gazes out a window, yearning for a glimpse of my world through the silver threads of rain. Story 33. The fading sun cast a golden glow over the rooftops, enveloping the neighborhood in a tranquil hush. Through my window, I gazed at the house opposite, a small dwelling cloaked in perpetual shadow. Never had I seen my neighbor venture out in the daylight. Only under the cover of night did his presence materialize, a silent specter slipping into the quiet street. This peculiar routine had caught my attention upon my arrival in the serene suburban enclave. Initially, I dismissed it as insignificant, an odd schedule perhaps, or nocturnal work obligations. But as time drifted by, the ritual grew more distinct, more purposeful. The house itself exuded an enigmatic aura, as if it possessed a heartbeat of its own. Its windows remained veiled by thick, motionless curtains that divulged no secrets. In the daytime, the structure seemed abandoned, yet an underlying vitality lingered in its stillness. An elusive electric hum occasionally traversed the street, faint and steady, akin to a patient heartbeat awaiting its moment. Curiosity crept upon me gradually, akin to a vine twining its way up a neglected wall. I found myself observing with heightened focus, noting every subtle nuance. The lawn bore the mark of meticulous care, the grass impeccably trimmed, the borders flawlessly defined. Yet no visible hand tended to this precision. On rainy nights, when droplets painted a gentle rhythm against glass and rooftops, The neighborhood sank into a contemplative quietude, setting the stage for subtle movements. A flutter of curtains, a fleeting glint in a window catching the moonlight in an otherworldly manner, ephemeral on the cusp of perception. Whispers among neighbors hinted at his reclusive nature, veiled in uncertainty. "Oh, him? Keeps to himself," they would murmur, a tinge of unease tainting their words. His identity, his occupation, the duration of his residence, all shrouded in mystery. He straddled a threshold, neither entirely present nor wholly absent. On a soft autumn night, with leaves whispering enigmatic tales along the pavement, a new chapter unfolded. The door creaked open, but this time an anomaly seized my attention. The figure that emerged moved with a fluidity defying human norms. Not robotic or abrupt, but fluid, like water weaving through shadows. Amber streetlights cast pools of warmth amidst deep shadows, where the figure seemed to meld and separate, blurring my perception. Was it truly moving, or a trick of the night's embrace? Details shifted with each blink, an opaque coat, then translucent, a gait both purposeful and hesitant. Following a precise path, a measured cadence, the figure vanished into the shadows between houses. My intrigue stemmed not from fear, but from a tranquil fascination. These nocturnal motions felt like a private ceremony, a sacred ballet performed for the quiet street and the watching night. Each observation unveiled a world parallel to our own, just beyond comprehension. Windows darkened, dogs fell silent, the world embraced a contemplative hush, as if awaiting an undefined revelation. Amidst this nocturnal symphony, my neighbor embarked on his silent pilgrimage, a moving shadow in the velvety darkness. No threat loomed. Instead, a profound sense of awe enveloped me, a sensation akin to hearing a distant, unfamiliar melody hinting at profound truths. The enigma was not to be solved, but to be embraced, to be felt in the tranquil interstices between certainty and imagination. As dawn crept closer, replacing the deep blues of night with gentle light, the figure retraced his steps. The door closed with a whispering finality, plunging the world into utter stillness. Who was he? What beckoned him into the night's embrace? These queries floated through my mind like wisps of cloud, seeking no answers, content to dwell in the realm of exquisite uncertainty. Some mysteries, I realized, are not meant for unraveling, but for witnessing, for experiencing. A soft caress on one's skin, a memory just beyond reach, the delicate space between dreaming and waking. Story 34. In the thick darkness of the room, only a faint light from the street lamp danced through the window, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Shifting in bed, I sought a more comfortable position when suddenly I felt a subtle weight at the foot of the mattress. It was as if a silent observer sat there, unmoving, watching me intently. With bated breath, I lay completely still, trying to comprehend the mysterious sensation enveloping me. The weight persisted, neither shifting nor growing, creating a gentle indentation in the mattress, like a patient presence waiting for the opportune moment. The old house groaned and settled, its wooden structure echoing through the night, each sound now imbued with a deeper significance. Struggling to see in the dim light, I sharpened my other senses. The air carried a chill, unusual for the season, and my cotton sheets seemed to anchor me in place. Outside, the rustling of leaves in the night breeze, usually soothing, now whispered enigmatic secrets that eluded my understanding. Time warped and twisted, minutes blending into hours as I lay motionless, attuned to every subtle shift in the atmosphere, every delicate sound. The street lamp's glow cast long, breathing shadows that danced with the sway of tree branches outside. My heart beat steadily, not in fear, but in a primal rhythm of awareness. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, shapes materialized from the shadows, the familiar silhouette of my dresser, the drape of the curtains, and a deeper patch of darkness at the bed's end. It remained motionless, unthreatening, merely existing as if it had always belonged there, patiently waiting for my acknowledgement. A strange calmness enveloped me, replacing the initial shock with an unnameable sensation. The presence felt neither hostile nor benevolent, simply a silent companion in this nocturnal reverie. Memories of my grandmother's tales of night visitors flooded my mind, observers who bore witness without interference. The bedside clocks ticking marked the passage of time, each second a gentle reminder of the world's ceaseless turning, even in this suspended moment. A passing car briefly illuminated the room, revealing only ordinary shadows. Yet the weight persisted, a constant, undeniable presence. Subtle changes crept into the room, a metallic tang in the air, shadows with newfound depth, and a profound silence that seemed to listen to the night itself. Lost in contemplation, I pondered the nights spent in this room, the dreams dreamt, the tears shed, the thoughts whispered in the dark before dawn. Instead of unease, a sense of companionship blossomed within me. With the first light of dawn softening the darkness, I sensed a gradual shift. The weight at the foot of the bed lightened, dissipating like morning mist. I remained still, not daring to look directly at its former presence. Some things, I realized, were meant to be felt and remembered, not seen clearly. As I finally rose from bed, the room appeared empty, bathed in the pale glow of morning. The mattress bore no trace of the weight that had lingered there. Yet a change had occurred. The room felt different, expanded, as if welcoming new possibilities previously unimagined. Each night, as I drift off to sleep, I am acutely aware of the space around me in ways I never had been before. I perceive the quality of darkness, the texture of silence, the weight of shadows, and sometimes, in the deepest hours of the night, I sense that gentle depression at the foot of my bed once more. No longer frozen in fear, I embrace its presence, listening to the night's murmurs, wondering what stories my visitor has come to witness this time. Story 35. In the heart of the night, the grandfather clock in my study sang out its familiar melody, each resonant chime spreading through the tranquil air like gentle ripples on a still pond. Nestled in my weathered leather armchair, a beloved book cradled in my lap, I savored the soothing rhythm of raindrops dancing against the window panes. The old house murmured softly around me, its ancient wooden structure settling into the hush of the midnight hour. As I gazed towards the hallway door, bathed in the soft glow of my reading lamp, a subtle shift captured my attention. Something felt different tonight, a whisper of change lingering in the air. Was it the way the brass handle caught the light, or perhaps the grain of the wood that seemed to have shifted? Despite 15 years spent within these walls, the door now appeared strangely unfamiliar, casting a mysterious aura in the dim light. Leaving my chair, I carefully marked my place in the book with a delicate silk ribbon. The floor beneath my feet felt cool, even through the warmth of my slippers. With each step towards the door, the air seemed to chill, as if a breath of winter had stolen into this solitary corner of my abode. My fingertips brushed against the handle, unexpectedly warm against the cool night, a stark contrast to the surrounding stillness. With a gentle push, the door swung open effortlessly, revealing the hallway bathed in the soft glow of moonlight. Everything appeared unchanged: the faded wallpaper, the worn carpet, the familiar frames holding treasured photographs. Closing the door with a shake of my head, I dismissed my fanciful thoughts. Perhaps my mind had been wandering too far into the realm of mysteries lately. That night, my dreams were filled with doors. They materialized in improbable places, amidst lush gardens, floating in the endless expanse of the sky, standing solitary on deserted shores. Each door bore the same warm brass handle, a touch of familiarity in their enigmatic presence. Morning arrived, and I carried on with my daily routine, barely sparing a glance towards the hallway door as I passed through. But as evening descended and the sun dipped below the horizon, a peculiar sight caught my eye. The door seemed to have aged overnight, its hue lighter as if the years had taken a sudden toll. The brass handle gleamed with a patina unseen before. Drawing closer, I examined it with newfound curiosity. The wood had transformed, its grain unfamiliar, the once iron-black hinges now a burnished copper. Night after night, the door underwent subtle metamorphoses. Its appearance shifted, sometimes older, sometimes newer. The handle would tilt, the frame would gain or lose intricate carvings. Yet beyond its ever-changing facade, the hallway remained a steadfast constant. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, I began to meticulously document each transformation in a journal, capturing the shifts with intricate sketches and detailed observations. The door never altered under my watchful gaze. It was during the deepest hours of night, when the house lay shrouded in silence and my attention drifted elsewhere, that the mysterious changes took place. Determined to unravel its secrets, one evening I resolved to stay awake and monitor the door throughout the night. Positioning my armchair directly facing it, I brewed a pot of strong tea and settled in for my vigil. The grandfather clock ticked away the moments as I watched, my eyelids growing heavy but my resolve unyielding. At precisely 3:17 a.m., the lights in my study flickered briefly, casting a fleeting shadow. In that ephemeral darkness, a subtle shift rippled through the room. When the light returned, the door had transformed once more. The warm oak now glowed with the richness of mahogany, intricate silver inlays dancing across its surface like ethereal whispers. Drawn to this newfound enigma, I approached the door, my hand hovering over the carved crystal handle. A gentle hum resonated in the air, a lingering vibration that seemed to echo through the very essence of the room. And then, a startling realization struck me. The door bore no keyhole. In all its iterations, the keyhole had never existed. Yet every morning I had passed through, it had been there, just beneath the handle. This undeniable truth nagged at the edges of my mind, a puzzle begging to be solved. In search of answers, I scoured my journal entries, seeking mention of the keyhole that had always been there in my memory. To my bewilderment, there was no record of it. Had I overlooked such a fundamental detail, or was there a deeper mystery at play? The question lingered, a shadow haunting my thoughts. Now, as twilight descends each evening, I find myself captivated by the door and its nightly transformations. Sometimes, a fleeting glimpse of unfamiliar hallways teases me from beneath the gap, each adorned with different carpets, wallpapers, and photographs. Yet when the door swings open, it is always my own hallway that beckons. A fleeting urge tugs at me to rearrange the photographs, to test the boundaries of reality. But a whispered warning, a primal instinct, cautions me against delving too deeply into the unknown spaces between perception and truth. The door continues to change, each night unveiling a new variation, a silent symphony of metamorphosis that has become a cherished part of my nightly routine. I ponder if it is the door itself evolving, or if my perception is shifting with each passing night. Perhaps both are true, or perhaps neither. One certainty remains. As the grandfather clock tolls midnight and the rain whispers against the window panes, I find myself eagerly anticipating the unveiling of the door's next form, and the mysteries it may choose to reveal or conceal in the tranquil hours before dawn. Story 36. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my study, a gentle lullaby blending with the crackling of the fireplace. Nestled in my cozy armchair, I gazed at the newest addition to my collection, an antique painting portraying an autumn scene. Discovered in a quaint antique shop, its warm hues and enigmatic aura drew me in. The aged golden frame shimmered in the firelight, casting mesmerizing reflections around the room. As the storm outside grew in strength, a peculiar sight captured my attention within the painting. The leaves seemed to rustle, moved by an unseen hand. Initially attributing it to the play of shadows, I soon realized a subtle shift in the artwork. Colors deepened, the path elongated, and the landscape expanded beyond its confines. Intrigued, I approached the painting, feeling a chill in the air contrasting the fireplace's warmth. The canvas's surface was unexpectedly smooth, emitting earthy scents that blurred the line between reality and art. My eyes caught movement amidst the tree branches, a deliberate stir that hinted at hidden life within the painted world. With a racing heart fueled by curiosity, I observed as brushstrokes altered, trees swayed, and distant shapes materialized. Rainfall transformed into a whispered melody, harmonizing with the painting's evolving tableau. Engrossed, I sank back into the armchair, the room seemingly stretching around me as the painting's magic unfolded. Throughout the night, the scene metamorphosed, colors pulsating in a hypnotic dance, revealing a stone house in the distance. Bathed in golden light, its windows beckoned, sparking wonder about its inhabitants. Embracing the surreal connection, I pondered if they too observed me through their enchanted window. Comforted by the merging of reality and enchantment, I witnessed figures walking the path, their presence fleeting yet captivating. Each attempt to focus dissolved the visions like morning mist, leaving an ethereal imprint on my senses. With the dawn's approach, the painting retreated to its original state, the scent of damp leaves lingering as a testament to the night's revelations. Since that enchanted evening, I returned to my armchair, awaiting the painting's whims. It unveils mysteries when it chooses, offering glimpses into a world beyond ordinary perception. Patiently, I sit, knowing that behind the canvas lies a realm that stirs only when the world slumbers, a sanctuary for those willing to embrace its elusive wonders. Story 37. The gentle evening breeze whispered through the open window, carrying the delicate fragrance of night-blooming flowers into the room. Nestled in my favorite armchair, I found myself entranced by the shadows dancing gracefully across the walls, cast by the flickering candlelight. Beside me, resting on the small table, lay my trusty old Polaroid camera, a cherished heirloom gifted to me by my grandmother long ago. Though it had gathered dust from disuse, a mysterious urge stirred within me to pick it up on that particular night. The familiar weight of the camera in my hands brought a sense of solace as I examined it in the dim glow of the room. My fingers instinctively gravitated towards the shutter button, a motion honed through countless snapshots taken in the past. With little hesitation, I aimed the lens towards the shadowy corner of the room and clicked. In an instant, the flash illuminated the space, followed by the mechanical whir of the photograph slowly materializing before me. As I patiently awaited the image to develop, the colors gradually materialized on the blank canvas. Yet to my surprise, an enigmatic figure emerged in the captured corner of the photograph. A vague, ethereal presence that hovered like a wisp of smoke, faintly resembling a human form. Curiosity piqued. I glanced towards the corner of the room, finding nothing but darkness. Intrigued by this mysterious phenomenon, I captured another photo in the same direction. This time, the figure appeared more distinct, as if drawing nearer to the camera. The outline of a face began to materialize, though the features remained obscured and hazy. A subtle sensation of awe tingled down my spine, not born of fear, but of a respectful fascination. Compelled by an unseen force, I continued to snap photos, each unveiling the figure drawing closer, gradually taking on more defined contours. It was as though the entity utilized the photographs as a conduit to manifest itself, gaining substance with each exposure. The blurred form began to solidify, revealing a silhouette reminiscent of a bygone era, perhaps the 1940s. A profound stillness enveloped the room, the atmosphere dense with an unseen presence that reverberated through the air. The temperature dipped imperceptibly, causing the candle flame to flicker without a hint of a draft. Captivated by this silent exchange, I proceeded to capture each moment with a deliberate slowness, savoring the enigmatic communion. In the final photo of that mystical evening, the figure loomed so near that it almost consumed the frame. I beheld a gentle smile gracing the woman's countenance, her eyes seemingly piercing through the glossy surface of the Polaroid. meeting mine with an uncanny familiarity. A surge of recognition stirred within me, evoking dormant memories from the recesses of my childhood. It was only when I rose to retrieve an aged photo album that I realized my hands trembled ever so slightly. Leafing through the yellowed pages, I unearthed the revelation I sought. A vintage photograph of my grandmother in her youth, captured by the very same Polaroid. The mirrored smile and the images mirrored one another, a poignant connection bridging generations. Arranging the photos in chronological order on the table, a silent narrative unfolded, a tale of a spectral encounter woven through the lens of an antiquated camera. I refrained from attempting to replicate the experience, returning the Polaroid to its resting place on the shelf. Yet, on tranquil evenings suffused with the golden hues of twilight, I find myself drawn to those photographs. At times, it appears as though the smile in the images subtly shifts, as if my grandmother endeavors to convey a message from beyond the veil. In those fleeting moments, the boundary between memory and reality blurs, akin to the fragile surface of a freshly developed Polaroid, a testament to the enduring bond between two worlds. Story 38. The autumn mist draped the streets like a soft gray veil, casting a mysterious aura over the night. It was late, and I was making my way home after a grueling day at work. As I drove, the world around me shrouded in fog. I noticed a pair of headlights in my rearview mirror, always at the same distance behind me. There was something peculiar about the way the car seemed to mirror my every move, as if it was attuned to my very thoughts. The hum of its engine was a steady rhythm, a calming presence amidst the eerie silence of the night. Curiosity mingled with unease as I observed the car behind me, its form obscured by the mist, its headlights like vigilant eyes never wavering from my path. The residential neighborhood we navigated was a picture of serenity, yet a sense of foreboding crept over me. I decided to test the waters, straying from my usual route. To my surprise, the car followed, maintaining that uncanny proximity that now felt oddly familiar. The soft patter of rain on my windshield added a soothing backdrop to our nocturnal dance, a stark contrast to the tension in the air. Raindrops traced intricate patterns on the glass, distorting my view of the persistent follower. I turned left, then right, the car matching my every turn with eerie precision. It was as though an invisible bond tethered us together, guiding our synchronized movements through the deserted streets. At a red light, I stole a glance through the misted glass, catching a glimpse of a figure in the motionless car behind me, a silent observer in the shadows. When I finally decided to head home, the car remained faithful, a shadow in my wake. Pulling into my driveway, I cut the engine, enveloped in a heavy silence broken only by the gentle drumming of raindrops on the roof. In the stillness, I watched as the car halted a few yards away, its headlights illuminating the night like two unwavering beacons. Minutes stretched into eternity as I waited, anticipation coiling in my chest. Then, as if on cue, the headlights blinked out, plunging the street into darkness. I peered into the night, but the car had vanished, leaving behind a lingering sense of intrigue and uncertainty. Since that enigmatic encounter, driving at night has taken on a new dimension. The rearview mirror has become a portal to the unknown, a gateway to the shadows that haunt the edges of perception. In moments of thick fog, I catch glimpses of those familiar headlights in the distance, a reminder of a nocturnal companion lost to the night. I wonder if the car still prowls the streets, seeking a new dance partner, or if it bides its time, waiting for the perfect moment to rejoin me in our enigmatic journey through the city's labyrinthine streets. Story 39. The wind softly whispered through the curtains as I savored my tea. The night hung hushed, with the moon painting a shimmering silver sheen over my garden. Moving closer to the window to shut it, a sudden halt seized me. Across the way, nestled amidst the trees, stood a solitary figure, utterly motionless, directly facing me. My breath hitched in my throat. The form stood like a statue, a dark outline set against the ethereal moonlight filtering through the barren branches. No stirring, no sudden motion, just a presence that seemed to meld with the shadows yet exist distinctly apart from them. This late hour has always held a special allure for me. Reality softens, boundaries blur, and the tangible world feels like a fragile veil between the known and the mysterious. My grandmother used to regale me with tales of the time between midnight and daybreak, how the barrier between realms thins, how memories and dreams intertwine like watercolors blending together. Slowly, I set down my teacup. The delicate clink of porcelain meeting wood shattered the profound stillness. The figure gave no indication of notice, no breath, no shift of stance. My abode rests on a tranquil lane where ancient oak trees form a natural canopy. Their branches weave overhead, crafting intricate patterns of light and shadow that sway with the gentlest breeze. Tonight, those branches seem to weave a lacework tapestry against the moonlit expanse, and within that fragile lattice, the stranger remained in perfect repose. I could discern no details, no facial features, no attire, no defining traits. Merely a dark form, human-like, yet somehow distinct. Not menacing per se, more akin to an unspoken query, a presence that beckoned silent contemplation. The warmth of the ceramic mug lingered beside me, lavender tea, my nightly custom. Its subtle aroma enveloped the room, a stark contrast to the crisp night air wafting in through the cracked window. Inhaling deeply, I felt the tension in my shoulders melt away. Years of solitary living have honed my observational skills, instilling trust in my instincts. And now my instincts did not scream of peril, they murmured of intrigue. Welcome. Minutes slipped by, or perhaps hours. Time adopts a different essence in such moments. The figure remained immutable, a living shadow seemingly more an extension of the surroundings than a separate entity. The moonlight subtly shifted, weaving new designs amidst the tree limbs, yet the silhouette held steadfast. I recalled an aged tale my grandfather once shared concerning liminal spaces, those thresholds where reality bends, where perception blurs. This felt akin to one of those junctures, neither a menace nor a vow, just a presence. My eyelids grew heavy, the tea's warmth, the gentle rustle of the curtains, the silent scrutiny of the enigmatic observer, all merged into a tranquil cadence. Fear did not grip me. Rather, I felt seen, acknowledged. As slumber tugged me into its embrace, the figure lingered in my consciousness, waiting, watching. A tacit guardian of the night's profound enigma. With the dawn, gentle sunlight would dissolve the night's mysteries. Yet now, in this suspended instant between waking and dreaming, all seemed plausible. All felt interconnected, and the figure endured. Story 40. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my vintage farmhouse, creating a soothing melody that harmonized with the gentle creaks of the hardwood floor beneath my steps. On this autumn night, the line between reality and dreams felt delicate, as if blurred by an unseen hand. Outside, the leaves of the trees swayed in the darkness, casting ever-changing shadows on the walls painted in a soft cream hue. Nestled in my beloved armchair, holding a cup of chamomile tea that had turned cold, I idly watched as the light from the floor lamp painted a golden halo on the ground. There was an air of difference that night, a subtle yet persistent feeling that lingered in the air, elusive and enigmatic. It seemed as though the atmosphere had thickened, the silence of the house growing deeper, almost palpable. Rising slowly, I was drawn by a flicker of movement caught in my peripheral vision. The corridor leading to the bedrooms appeared elongated, stretching beyond its usual limits. Shadows gathered in the corners, dense and alive, as if concealing secrets within their depths. As I stood at the threshold of the living room, peering into the darkness that veiled the hallway's end, a gradual chill enveloped me. Each step I took seemed to echo differently, as if I were treading on unfamiliar ground. The family portraits adorning the walls bore a new intensity in their gaze, their familiar faces taking on a slightly altered demeanor. Midway down the hallway, I halted. A peculiar scent wafted towards me, an ancient fragrance of aged books and damp wood, foreign to my home. Turning towards the window on my right, I noticed the rain had etched intricate patterns on the glass, cryptic designs that followed an unfathomable scheme. And there, amidst the shadows, I saw it. A darkness deeper than the rest, moving with an unnatural elegance along the opposing wall. It cast no visible form, yet possessed a solidity as if sculpted from condensed mist. Its motion was deliberate, almost cautious, as if acknowledging my presence. My breath deepened, my gaze unwavering as I observed this enigmatic presence. No fear gripped me, only a sense of uncanny recognition, as though it had always dwelled there, awaiting acknowledgement. The shadow paused by the guest room door, assuming a faintly human shape. Taking a step closer, I sensed a subtle reaction from the shadow, a slight wavering in response to my proximity. The whisper of rain outside transformed into a continuous murmur, as if attempting to convey a message. Straining my ears, I caught fleeting syllables in an unfamiliar yet strangely comprehensible tongue. The air grew colder, yet not unwelcome, wrapping around me like a cool silk veil on a balmy summer night. The shadow resumed its movement, gliding towards me in a slow, fluid dance. I stood unmoving, watching as it drew nearer. When it stood but a few paces away, it paused. In the hush of the house, my heartbeat sounded steady and calm. The shadow inclined slightly, a gesture akin to a greeting. Compelled by an inexplicable impulse, I raised a hand. Mirroring my action, the shadow extended what appeared to be a hand from its nebulous form. Though no physical contact was made, a warmth radiated where our hands almost met. Then, with the same grace it had arrived, the shadow began to dissipate. Like smoke carried by an unseen breeze, it dispersed into the air, leaving behind a faint trace of jasmine and a profound sense of tranquility. I lingered in the hallway, time seeming to stretch infinitely as the rain's song faded into the night. Returning to the living room, I found my tea still warm, as if untouched by the passage of time. Since that evening, whenever I traverse that hallway on rainy nights, I keep a watchful eye on the shadows. Sometimes I catch a glimpse of that familiar form, dancing just beyond my peripheral vision. The identity of the shadow remains a mystery to me, yet its presence has left not a trace of unease, but rather a profound understanding that some enigmas require no unraveling. The hallway of my home now harbors this secret, and on quiet nights when the rain taps against the windows, I find myself waiting, a blend of curiosity and serenity, for a new encounter with the shadow that dances beyond the threshold. Story 41. The air hung heavy with the fragrance of moist earth and dew-kissed leaves. Above me, the branches swayed in a delicate dance, allowing ribbons of golden dusk to filter through. I strolled along a narrow path, lured by the distant serenade of a bird. Suddenly, the melody ceased, and I realized the path had vanished into thin air. Standing in silence, I inhaled the ancient whispers of the forest. The moss underfoot felt like velvet, cradling my steps with a gentle embrace. The evening sun bathed everything in hues of warm amber, yet a subtle shift had occurred. Shadows elongated, stretching like tender fingers across the forest floor. Advancing quietly, my footsteps were but whispers in the ethereal realm that enveloped me. The forest had metamorphosed, cloaked in a mystique I had never before encountered. Trees towered taller, their bark shimmering with elusive patterns that danced at the edge of my vision. White flowers scattered the ground, their petals softly aglow in the fading light. A gradual chill descended, accompanied by a fine mist that draped the tree trunks like silken veils. The distant murmur of water surrounded me from all directions, its source elusive yet ever present. A sweet, unfamiliar scent wafted through the air, reminiscent of honey and ancient tomes. As I journeyed, my gaze fell upon intricate arrangements of stones, meticulously placed in enigmatic patterns. Circular and spiral formations emerged, each stone exuding a subtle luminescence or bearing delicate etchings. Though tempted to touch, an unspoken understanding kept me from disturbing their arrangement. The forest thickened, yet a radiant luminosity permeated the mist, casting a pearlescent glow. Passing through clearings where the grass murmured cryptic secrets and where mushrooms formed celestial rings mirroring the heavens above, I felt a harmony beyond comprehension. Though the canopy obscured the sky, an unseen link resonated with the celestial bodies above. Time flowed like honey, its passage elusive as minutes melded seamlessly into hours. My watch, frozen in time, displayed hands that shifted backward when my gaze averted. The crystal face, veiled in intricate frost-like patterns, seemed alive with ever-changing designs. A peculiar stream crossed my path, defying gravity as its crystal-clear waters reflected no semblance of my visage. Beneath its surface, lights danced like stars trapped in liquid crystal, emitting a melodic resonance that echoed in paradoxical beauty. Peripheral movements flickered, subtle shifts in the fabric of reality, like whispers of unseen presences. Figures, elusive yet benign, traversed paths parallel to mine, indifferent to my presence, like phantoms in a bustling station. The moss beneath my feet etched patterns, spirals and waves that emanated softly before dissipating, as if the forest itself chronicled my passage only to erase it swiftly. The air shimmered with myriad points of light, akin to dust motes swirling in ethereal rays, coalescing into shapes on the cusp of recognition. Entering a vast clearing, the mist swirled in intricate geometric forms. At its heart stood an ancient tree, its contorted trunk forming a natural cathedral of impossible elegance. Leaves transitioned through hues unnameable, shifting with each breath I drew. Approaching, I discerned inscriptions adorning the bark, conveying tales in a language foreign yet intimately understood, brushing my mind like ephemeral butterfly wings. Night descended, yet darkness eluded the forest, suffused instead with a silver twilight that emanated from every corner and none at once. The air thrummed with a subtle vibration, resonating in harmony with my heartbeat, or perhaps vice versa. Fear dissipated, replaced by a sense of belonging in a realm simultaneously familiar and alien. Here I remain, penning these words in a journal materialized from the ether, ink flowing upward to form letters as if guided by unseen hands. Not lost, not truly. I exist precisely where I am, though the destination eludes my conscious grasp. The forest holds the answers, and somehow that assurance suffices. The bird's melody has faded, yet new harmonies now caress my senses, melodies tasting of moonlight and harmonies feeling like autumn leaves upon my skin. Perhaps I shall pursue these new songs, or perhaps I shall linger here, where the impossible feels natural, and time ebbs like water through cupped palms. For in this realm, being lost holds no weight unless the quest for being found consumes you. Story 42. The soft scent of aged timber drifted through the hallway as I extinguished the lights for the night. The house settled into a hushed stillness, the floorboards murmuring beneath my weight. Just as I neared my bedroom, a sound halted my steps, a slow, dragging creak that sent a shiver down my spine. I turned, my core tensing, to find the attic door ajar. Motionless, I strained my ears to the house's whispers, a gentle exhale of wind through weathered frames, the quiet sigh of aged wood. The attic door stood out, heavy and worn, cloaked in a veil of time that hinted at untold secrets. Typically, I would have closed it promptly, yet an unseen force held me back. A curiosity, ethereal and alluring, wrapped around my mind like tendrils of mist. The darkness beyond the door was not a void, but a soft, silvery haze, moonlight seeping through unseen windows, casting ethereal shadows that danced with a life of their own. Almost involuntarily, my hand reached out. The wood felt cool, its surface smoother than memory recalled, layers of paint worn away to reveal the essence beneath. Each touch carried whispers of forgotten conversations, echoes of bygone movements. I advanced, the floorboards responding with a gentle murmur, a melody in their creaks that felt more like a breath than a sound. Memories of my grandmother's tales floated through my mind, stories of houses that held memories, of spaces that transcended mere dimensions. A gentle draft brushed my skin, neither warm nor cold, but expectant, as if the air itself held its breath. Without conscious intent, I crossed the threshold. The attic unfolded unlike my expectations. Moonlight bathed the wooden floor, illuminating forgotten trunks, ancient furniture, and silhouettes pregnant with untold tales. A single object captivated me, a small chair bathed in the moon's glow, positioned with precision as though recently vacated. I approached cautiously, the chair's aged wood inviting touch. A fine layer of dust coated it, disrupted by a faint imprint, a ghostly trace of recent occupancy. Silence enveloped me, alive and watchful. My fingers trailed the chair's back, evoking a fleeting memory, an elusive familiarity tinged with strangeness. In the distance, an owl's call resonated, setting the dust motes swirling in a graceful ballet. A subtle shift in the moonlight teased at forming recognizable patterns before settling back into stillness. An unspoken presence enveloped me, not menacing, but comforting, as though intertwined with the essence of the space. The chair stood sentinel, the moonlight a silent witness, and on the fringes of perception, a mutual understanding blossomed, bridging the gap between us. Some enigmas I realized were not meant for unraveling, but experiencing, feeling, and etching into the recesses of consciousness where reality melds with the ineffable. I lingered, breathing in harmony with the room, a part of its narrative, a keeper of its secrets. Story 43. In the quiet hush of night, the wariness of a long workday lingered as I stepped into my study. The soft amber glow of the desk lamp cast gentle shadows on the walls adorned with rows of books, each one holding a story of its own. The comforting scent of aged paper and ink embraced me as I settled into my worn leather armchair, a sanctuary of solace. Upon the polished wooden desk, my cherished old diary awaited me, a gift from my grandmother, its brown leather cover weathered with time, its yellowed pages a treasure trove of my innermost thoughts. As I reached out to open its familiar cover, a curious discovery halted my hand. The last page I remembered writing was no longer blank. Delicate, unfamiliar handwriting adorned the page, weaving a tale I had no recollection of penning. The ink, still glistening as if freshly laid, drew me in, beckoning me to read further. The words painted a vivid picture of an autumn evening, mirroring the very room I sat in. The gentle patter of rain against the window pane created a soothing symphony, harmonizing with the rustle of pages stirred by an unseen breeze. The flickering lamp light cast dancing shadows, adding an ethereal touch to the scene. Mesmerized, I delved deeper into the mysterious narrative that seemed to anticipate my every move. Curiosity urged him to turn the page, the script whispered, and as if under a spell, my fingers complied. With each turn, new words materialized before my eyes, as though an invisible force guided the pen in a dance of creation. The ink flowed seamlessly, capturing my very essence, the warmth of the lamp on my skin, the rhythm of my breath, the subtle shivers that traced my spine. Unable to tear my gaze away, I watched in awe as the prose unfolded, describing books on my shelves that I didn't recall owning, yet there they stood, tangible and real. The hypnotic cadence of the narrative echoed like a clock's pendulum, marking time in the silent chamber of my study. Seated now on the corner couch, I observed as the diary continued its silent discourse, the rain outside intensifying into a protective barrier, cocooning me in a world of enchantment. With closed eyes, I surrendered to the soothing lullaby of the rain, only to awaken to a subtle shift in the diary's tone. The words now wove a tapestry of memories long forgotten, secrets buried deep within my soul. Each sentence felt like a whispered revelation, a gentle prodding to explore the depths of my being. Slowly, tentatively, I approached the desk once more, drawn by the intimate conversation unfolding on the pages. As the night waned, the dialogue grew more profound, unraveling layers of understanding I had long overlooked. There was no fear, only a tranquil curiosity, a sense of peace enveloping me like a comforting shroud. Each word seemed a stepping stone towards a revelation yet to be unveiled. With the stroke of midnight, I realized hours had slipped by unnoticed, lost in the silent communion with the diary. The final words etched on the page bore a simple yet profound message. Some mysteries don't need solving to be understood. Closing the diary gently, I felt the familiar texture of the leather beneath my fingertips. Outside, the rain continued its melodic descent, now a companion rather than mere background noise. I wondered if the morning light would reveal the words anew, or if they would fade like a wistful dream. As I readied for slumber, I stole a final glance at the study, where the diary lay in quiet repose, a silent witness to the enigma that had unfolded within its pages. In the embrace of night, as I closed the door behind me, a subtle shift occurred within. Something intangible had shifted, a door unlocked to a realm of understanding beyond words. The study remained cloaked in nocturnal serenity, the lamp casting its amber glow, a sentinel to the mysteries that dwelled within. And in that moment of quiet reflection, I knew that some mysteries were meant to be cherished, to remain veiled in their enigmatic allure.